Welcome to True Talks with Charliie. Another week. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to True Talks with Charliie. Today we are having Bree Johnson. I almost said your full name, your government name at that. Mean girl. I'm gonna add you now. Oh, I was like, I don't know if I wore red because I knew you were gonna wear red or what was happening there because this is not really my color, but we can do that.
It's the vibe. It's the energy.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I was like, oh, maybe I'm doing this for grounding, for the root chakra. So I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know, I'm not really sure, but we outside. But
We gonna do what you
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is True Talk with Charliie with Bree Johnson. Living life with chronic illness. And just for anyone who's new, watching a replay, I give thanks for you, first of all. But Truth Talks with Charliie is basically like an exploratory conversation that is led by awe and curiosity. What that means, it looks like, is that I invite guests on to just speak their truth. Whatever it is they want to talk about, we discuss, and I just ask questions to be curious so we can all learn from them or about them. I do believe that each of us as humans is just a representation of what's possible in life. And so by having these truth talks, I feel like we get a lens of someone else's experience and just how they're going about it, right? Like maybe they'll inspire you, who knows? But let's talk about it. So I always let guests introduce themselves because this is all about truth, right? And I feel like as a Gemini rising and as someone who just like, I feel like I'm somebody different whenever I feel like being it. I like people to decide who they want to be in this moment. So you can tell us whatever you want. You can tell us about your job. You can tell us about however you want to introduce yourself.
Okay, I felt like thugging today. That's why I got my hoodie on. So,
Yay.
hey y'all, I'm Bree, and I do a lot of things in life, right? I do whatever I want in life. That's basically what this is about. Charlie and I know each other because we were in the military together
We're
way
back.
back in the day. Way back in the day. It's a whole different life. But that's how we know each other. And so now I wanted to be able to talk to her because she's someone who's known me for a long time, but also someone that is close to me, but might not have known how to help me in certain times. And I feel like having a conversation right now with someone close to me will help the conversation be bigger with illnesses in general, right? Because I'm talking about living with, diseases and things like that, but like I'm living with them. So like that's the difference, right? Like I want that living part to be like in capital letters,
Right.
like
So wait, I'm gonna actually talk about that.
yeah.
That's right. So this is just intro. We ain't even getting
Yeah.
into the
Yeah, we're
conversation
not
yet.
even
Right.
we're not getting into that
So
yet, but
yeah.
like
So
yeah.
yeah.
So
So that is all right. So
yeah,
that is
that's it.
Brig. I don't want to go too far because we actually like we need the warm up question first. We gotta
Okay.
ease into this conversation.
Ain't no
So part
easing
of
in. Let's just jump in, like
that. Oh, you know what? That's what I do love. I feel like everybody who comes on here, energy is different, right? And I try to play around with it so I
yeah.
can figure out our thing, right? Because I'm just like a big energy anyway. But what was I about to say? Yes. So part of what I do is I give guests their flowers, right? So what that means or looks like is just like giving thanks for them. So for one, Bree actually, so I told you all when I first started Truth Talks with Charliie, I had reached out to people just asking them if they was interested in talking from watching them. It's interesting because I never would have thought you would want to talk. So I want to apologize. But even so, I give thanks for you. So Bree actually reached out to me with this idea, and I was just so excited and at the same time hesitant, right? Because I feel like these conversations, greetings. These conversations, you know, I don't know. I feel like maybe sometimes I feel like I got to be more educated, but I realize that I know a lot more than I think I do. And there's always more to learn. And I think that that's just what it is. So, Bree, I thank you for your openness. One thing I love about you is that you're so open. You've always been frank since we were younger. And Bree always have lived in her own world, right? And I feel like sometimes, you know, people see your behavior, the way you act, or the way you show up, right? And they may assume things about you, right? But they don't also know, right, what's going on in the background, right? How people are treating you, what you're going through, what you're experiencing. And I think sometimes they just think that you're just having a good time and not taking things seriously. Not necessarily you, just in general, people have ideas of who you are. And I feel like the military, I think specifically in your field, because your field is male dominated, right? And
Yeah.
with the people. And so, right, that you had it a lot tough. Because I remember what you were going through, and I was just like, oh, thank God it's not me, right? Because I don't know if I would have survived more than 4 years. I don't know about that.
I
But yeah,
barely
like
made it the other two.
yeah. And it's always me saying, I'm happy I made it, didn't go to jail, and nobody got killed, right? Like, those are the things I say every birthday. I'm like, look at me. I'm doing great out here. What are you talking about? What do you mean? I'm great.
Yeah.
But no. I always just respected you because you were just always an individual, right? And I feel like sometimes when you're in spaces and worlds where there was a lot of expectations back then, of how we should behave, how we should act, how we should dress, all these things, right? There was so many opinions about who we are. Sorry, just shouted you out on my live. Oh, thank you.
That's my brother.
Oh, yes. And music, right?
Yeah.
He does music. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, I pay attention. Yeah, I just respect you and I just adore you. And I feel like I try to keep people around me who I'm inspired by, right? Like, I don't want to be picking up bad habits that I don't really want. Not bad habits I don't want. So I just like love and adore you. And I'm so grateful that you decided to have this conversation because I feel like it's important, it's meaningful, and and you're so honest and like you are just transparent and open and you're like everything goes. And I'm like, you sure? And you're like, yeah, that's it. So before we even jump into the conversation, I always do like a warm-up question. And so your warm-up question is, tell us about a stranger you still remember. What made them memorable?
Oh, that's simple. Okay. So me and my family was on the way back from Jamaica. Me, my little cousins, and I call her my auntie sister cousin because she's like all of the above for me. It was me, her, and her 3 kids. And we were on the plane and there was this man next to us and he was like coughing like crazy. And this is just like some months ago. So we still in COVID times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's like everybody like, you know what I'm saying? But I'm sitting in the aisle seat, he on the other side on the aisle seat. And everybody around him was, you know, like putting their masks up. They was like, you know, just hiding from him. But like, I just was like watching him the whole time, but not in like a bad way, right? Like something in my spirit said, like, pay attention to him. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like watching him trying to take naps because Jamaica to Chicago it's a flight, okay? So like, so I'm just like, okay. And then like, I'm talking to my cousins. They're sitting next to me, and I look over, and I'm like, oh, he not doing good. Like, he not doing good at all. So I call the people, and I'm like, assistance over here. And they were like, what's wrong? And I said, no, he needs help, not me. And they were like, oh, sir, are you okay? Come to find out, he was having a heart attack. And everyone around him was shielding themselves from him instead of paying attention to him to see that he was like actually in pain and not, you know, not in that type of way, right? So he was coughing because he actually couldn't breathe. And so it seemed like he was coughing, but he wasn't. He was catching his breath. So like every time he was like, that's what he was doing. And I was like, that don't seem good. So let me tell you, on that flight back, it was so much black girl magic happening there because it was a black doctor, it was a black nurse, they was both women, and they saved that man's life. like next to
Oh
me, and
my
they had me
God.
like helping out and everything like that. And so I remember him specifically because he gave me a look of like, thank you, because no one else was paying attention. Like no one else was like really
Mhm.
looking to like help or anything else like that. And so I'm telling the nurse, I'm like, because I'm attentive. I was like, okay, so I don't know if he's gonna tell you he in pain or not, but I see him go like, and then like exhale and like grasping for something and then let it go and like everything else
Mhm.
like that. So I'm telling her everything that I seen, and she was like, "So are you in pain? Like, are you in pain?" And he was like, "No, I'm not in pain." I was like, "He is in some type of pain. I don't care what he's saying."
Mhm. Oh
And so like,
man.
yeah, and so that's how they ended up finding out that he was having a heart attack, and so they had to take him to the front of the plane, lay him out, and everything else like that. But like when they was getting ready to do all that, he kind of like looked over at me because they had the oxygen mask on him and everything. And he kind of like shook his head at me and was like, "Thank you." And I was like, I was all in tears because you know me, I'm an empath. And
I'm about to cry. I'm like, no, 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 no. This is too much.
I was like, you know me, I'm an empath. And so I was like, all like in tears. It's like my cousin had to hold me. I was like, oh my God.
Oh my.
But it's like,
Oh wow.
that is memorable to me because sometimes you never know who you're actually helping. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like with like being a decent human being and like actually having compassion and paying
Right.
attention
And I
to
think that
those things. Yeah.
yeah, that compassion. I feel like
Yeah.
that's what it is, right? And us not always assuming. Um, and speaking of assuming, okay, wait, wait, if you're finished, wait, I'm gonna let you finish your story. I'm like,
Oh,
speaking
good.
of
I'm good.
assuming,
I'm
yeah,
done.
okay, but speaking of assuming, right? So going back, we're about to head into the main conversation, the theme, living life with chronic illness, and I wanted to talk about the title, right? So when Bree submitted her form, right, I read it, right, and I'm like, all right. Apparently, I skimmed it. First of all, I should not skim anything. I know this, but anywho, I skimmed this form, and so like I was like, all right, the topic is living with chronic illness, right? And then like we end up talking, right? Because I want to know people boundaries. I want to know, all these things. And Bree and I haven't really spoken, right? So I don't know this version of Bree, right? Like I know, Bree from Memphis, okay? Like this is Bree from Chicago and sometimes Texas. So I don't know this Bree, right? So like that. But so I just wanted to know boundaries and all that. And throughout our conversation, a lot was coming up. And once I was preparing questions and stuff for this talk, I realized I got it fucked up. That I didn't realize the energy you was coming with. But once I realized that, I was like, oh no, she means living, living. Like I'm living, I'm an active participant, I'm having a good time, I'm making it intentional. So yeah, so I assumed it was one thing, but once I spoke to her, I was like, oh no, 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 this is a different type of living, okay? With
Yeah.
kind of like what you were saying earlier with capital letters. Like, so yes, this is a living life with chronic illness conversation. And we want to be very mindful of the fact of living. But we're also going to talk about the chronic illnesses and what they are and maybe even how they express for you and just like ways you're coping and things, whatever it is you want to tell us about. So with that being said, you already kind of told us why you decided to have this conversation, because that was like my first question is like, why this conversation? Um, but you kind of told us. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
Well, kind of, just a little bit. So
Okay.
the main reason is, you know, people look at other people sometimes and they're like, oh, that's a normal person. They're regular. They're fine. They're okay. Right. So many people look at me like that. Right. And so being able to have conversations to say, I'm not okay. I don't feel okay. Like I'm not good in this moment. It's not a conversation that people are used to hearing from somebody who looks like they're okay. And so it's like, oh, you're fake, or you're doing this for attention, or whatever the case may be. But illness looks different for everyone, regardless of whatever it is. Like it could be COVID. COVID looked different
Mm-hmm.
for everybody, right? Like some people was like, oh yeah, I tested positive, but I didn't have no symptoms, no nothing. And
Mm-hmm.
some people was like, bitch, I'm on my deathbed. Like I
Yeah.
I had to go to the hospital. I barely made it out. They had to do a lot, and like some people still have effects of it right now. So it's just like having that conversation, because I really feel like people don't put two and two together sometimes, like what it looks like and what it actually is. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to have this conversation, because yeah, I look good. But that doesn't necessarily determine how I'm feeling. So that's
yeah.
what, yeah.
And so just so we're all clear, can you tell us like what the chronic illness / condition is? Because I feel like I don't know what they consider that. But sorry. I know
Yeah,
it's chronic,
so
but I feel like it's a condition or something. All right.
yeah, so I have lupus, and lupus is different for everyone, right? It expresses itself like a like an artist, right? Artists express themselves in different ways and different platforms and things like that, right? So that's lupus. It's like, oh, I am looking at you in this way, and so I'm talking to you in this way, but over here, when I'm talking to this person, I'm going to express myself differently over here and do these things. That's kind of how it is. And some people, they might not have any symptoms. They might not have anything that happens with them. And then there's people that have severe chronic, symptoms and things like that, where it actually attacks their organs. It attacks their brain. It attacks everything. And so it's like hard to actually figure it out. Like it's crazy. And then on top of that, that causes you to be susceptible to other things, like other illnesses, other diseases, and things like that. I'm not going to say lupus is the reason as to why I have cancer, but I'm blaming her, like.
I just put that together too. I was like, that's a good point.
Yeah, but I'm kind of blaming her a little bit. But I also have stage 4 breast cancer. And so, that displayed itself in a completely different way than I'm used to. So with lupus, I'm in pain all the time. But it's a manageable pain. Sometimes I have like flare-ups to where I'm immobile. I lose my memory. Organs and things like that start to malfunction. I have to go into the hospital and things like that. Like, it's a really strange time when it comes to that, because it never shows itself to me in the same way. It's always something different every time. So I have to pay extreme attention to my body to be like, okay, you're on the way, or like, oh, you're here, and be able to diagnose myself first, because I don't like to go to the hospital.
I feel you.
You know me, I've always been hard-headed, always been stubborn. No, thank you.
Yeah, we diagnose ourselves. Like,
yeah.
I'm you.
Yeah. I'm like, no, thank you. I've been doing this for a long time. I just need to sit down.
I just need a couple of days off.
What they always tell us in the military, just drink some water,
Hydrate.
Hydrate. So, like, that's something that I do. I'll be like, okay, I just need to jog for a second, sit down. I'll be all right. But sometimes it gets to the point to where I'm like, all right, I gotta go. But that's how I ended up finding out that I had cancer, is because like I wasn't able to breathe. My chest felt heavy. I was gaining weight, but I wasn't eating. And so it was confusing to me, because usually it's like I'm losing hella weight whenever I'm having a flare up. I lose hella weight because I can't eat. I'm throwing things up, things like that. So it's just like, whenever I'm having a lupus flare up, like I'm on a liquid diet, because that's the only thing that's gonna stay down. I'm having broth and soups and a whole lot of Gatorade with electrolytes and all that other stuff. That's what I'm doing in those times. So when I wasn't able to eat, I was like, okay, I'm about to have a flare up, and I was like, oh no, this is different. Like, why my chest, like my chest really felt like I had a plate on it whenever I would lay down. Felt like I was laying down with like a metal plate on my chest, and it felt like that. Then it started to get like that walking upstairs taking a shower. Like, it just was so heavy on me. So then I finally went to the doctor, and they told me, and they were like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "What? Stop playing with me."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Stop playing with me," like,
Yeah.
because this isn't my first time.
Right. So that's what I was about to ask, right? Because
Yeah,
you did tell me that this isn't the first time
yeah,
you were diagnosed with cancer. So I guess out of remission is what is how they say, right?
yeah, pretty
Okay.
much.
Out of
Yeah.
remission. But the first time, was it also stage 4?
No, it wasn't. It was
Oh.
it was caught early then, so it was like a borderline stage 2. I really
Yeah.
didn't have to do that much. I had to do chemo that time, and it was like, "Oh, okay, you do this and you'll be okay." And I'm like, "Okay." So I did it. But that's not something I would ever do again. Like,
Mm.
never.
Yeah, yeah, we
Yeah.
actually I asked Bree and we could talk about that. Yeah, because I found out about Bree having cancer on Instagram stories. I knew about lupus from years ago, right? I feel like we had a conversation. It was still new to me, the concept, but over time, like I told you, I've met people, I've dated people with lupus, so I've learned a little bit more. But also, they had other conditions, so like those are more like active.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I had to make sure. I was like, that's a good enough word.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so you did tell me that you're not interested, and I think that this is also great to segue into like your coping strategies in a way. You know, you're living your choice to just. I feel like you always live, but maybe it's different now, and we can talk about that too. But yeah, so yeah, Brianna, you can tell us.
Yeah. So I decided not to go through any of the treatments that they prescribed to me because I went through it before, right? Like, going through that before, to me, right? For me, my experience, I can't speak for anyone else, but for my experience, that was worse than having cancer. And people always say, "Oh, you gotta get worse before you can get better."
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to figure out where I was going to get better at. Like, it to me, I was like, "Are you like, am I ever gonna get better? Like, are you sure?" It was just a process to me that it wasn't something that I could do because okay, so I had young kids at the time, and I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
do nothing with those children of mine at that time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't hold them, I couldn't play with them, I couldn't do anything. Because in my mind, right, there's nothing to say that if I didn't do this, that I would, I wouldn't be okay. You know, like, if you're telling me, "Oh, okay, well, you have cancer. It's not that bad though, but to get better, take this medicine." That's pretty much what it was to me. How I processed it in my head was, take this medicine, which is the radiation, the chemotherapy. Take this medicine, and then you'll be better. There was nothing to me to say that if I didn't take this medicine, that I wouldn't be okay by myself. You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
because that medicine, it made things so much worse for me. Like, I literally was in the hospital more than I was outside of the hospital. And then when I was out of the hospital, I couldn't do anything. You know, like, I couldn't enjoy life. I couldn't be the person who I am. You know, like, I was
Yeah.
confined to a bed most of the time, or to the couch, or something like that. And I was not living life, and I did not enjoy that at all. You know me. I gotta.
Right. And how long was that? Do you remember?
That was probably like 6 months. I think they wanted me to do that for 6 months. Yeah, it was like 6 months, and it was the worst 6 months of my life. And I found out that I had lupus while I was pregnant with my second child. I was in and out of the hospital, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. I was having seizures. Um, I was passing out randomly. I was in so much pain, and everybody was like, "Oh, that's just labor pains," or, "Oh, that's just your body changing because you're pregnant or whatever." And I'm like, "No, thank you." I'm
Okay.
like, if this is what we're doing, then no, I'm done. Tap me out.
Do
So,
not recommend.
do not recommend. 0 out of 10.
Hey, yo.
So that's how I found out, because lupus is actually one of the hardest diseases to actually diagnose for people, because it, like I said, it expresses its ways, and it expresses itself in so many different ways. You don't know what you're looking at. So, oh, I got migraines all the time. Okay, well, you have a migraine problem, but I also have this issue. Okay, well, then you just have that issue. Oh, okay, well then, I'm in the hospital because I feel like, I like feel like my organs are shutting down. Oh, you got a kidney issue. Like it could be something like that, right? And they have to take all these different symptoms, all these different issues that you're having, and then combine them together in order to figure out, oh, it's only one main problem, and it's this. And so you have to stay in the hospital, stay getting appointments, stay like you okay. So anyone that is having multiple issues all the time, you have to advocate for yourself in order to get it diagnosed, because they're going to brush it off. Like they're going to keep telling you, oh, it's just this. Oh, it's just that. Like you have to be like, no, I have this, I have this, I have this. Like I'm having all of these issues and it's happening all the time, whatever, consistently. You have to advocate for yourself, because if you don't, no one else will. And I have to say, if it wasn't for my ex-mother-in-law, I probably would not have been diagnosed, because she used to be in there like, check for this, check for that. Like
Wow.
she used to tell them like, nah, because she's a nurse. So she'd be like, no, check these levels, check this, check that. Like, let me see the results. And like, she was
Wow.
the one who
Yes.
actually got me diagnosed, because I didn't know nothing. Like, I was what, 23?
Pretty young,
I had to think about it like, oh, that was 10 years ago. um, so like, if it wasn't for her, I probably would not have been diagnosed properly in order to be able to try to manage anything. Because when I tell you, like, I couldn't lay down without being bruised. Like, it was like, what's happening? What's going on?
yeah.
And if I laid down for too long in one area and didn't like move over and stuff like that, I'd be stuck in that spot. Couldn't do anything else. It was crazy. But anyways, so advocate for yourself. If you don't feel well, continuously tell people that you don't feel well, and you get out there and you make them figure that shit out. because
Yeah.
if you don't, like, no one else will. And when they do start to diagnose you or whatever, make sure you checking that, double check it, because don't let them diagnose you with something that you don't actually have, because then they trying to prescribe you things that you don't actually need. It was a whole roller coaster that we had to go through in order to even figure it out. Like, they tried to diagnose me with cancer before I even had cancer. They was like, oh, we think you have cancer. And my mother-in-law was like, nah, no, she don't. It was like, so, yeah.
You like really shocked, like today when I mentioned, like you shocked me about the cancer thing in a sense of the symptoms, right? Because
Yeah.
I haven't done a lot of research, but I do know that every time I go to the doctor, they always ask you like, are you losing weight, and not on purpose, right? Not
Yeah.
intending to, right? Are you losing weight quick without intending to? So they tend to ask that, right? And I know that with my dad's cancer, that's what, right? He lost tons of weight even before he was diagnosed. Like he was losing weight. So I thought like that's a clear symptom, right? Until you
Yeah.
bust my bubble today, you be like, girl. Like it can be the opposite of that too. And I think that it goes back to what you're saying. It's like, one, know our bodies, because that's going to help a lot, so we can know, when things are shifting, when things are changing, and how we can, like, better care for ourselves and be advocates for ourselves.
Yep.
Because that shit is scary, especially like when you're talking about the fainting and all that. Like,
Don't be behind the wheel. Like, because I've actually had that happen. Like, felt dizzy and was like, yo, let me pull over, because, like, what the hell?
yeah.
Yeah, because
So,
it's crazy.
so while we're talking about that, driving, all that, girl, that's a whole other thing. Like, I'm not gonna get into that because it's like trigger things for me. But while we're talking about that, can we talk about like ways you deal with? Because I feel like with lupus, from what I do know, right, it's a management thing.
Yeah.
It's not like right. It could be dormant and then active, and it can, like you was telling us, like for you, it expresses differently. Um, so is there actual medicine that they can prescribe for that? Right, seeing that you got so many different symptoms. I mean, I don't know.
Well, they have like medications for tolerance, like to help cope. So it's like they got pain medications for you to
Okay.
take, and then there's also like antibiotics and things like that whenever your organs start to not do what they're supposed to do. And then there's higher grade things that they have for you to take. I don't take none of that. I don't do none of that. Like because the things that they give you to help you live don't allow you to live. Like it's like, oh, take this and you'll be able to live another day, but you're not actually living in that day. You're just there. You're a zombie. You're a shell of a person. And so you wake up the next day, yeah, but what are you gonna be able to do in that day? Nothing. Like what process, what anything, like you can't do anything. I did that at the very beginning of everything, and I probably lost like a year. Like I have no recollection, no like nothing of probably like a year of my life, because I took these medications that was supposed to help me get better, and they clouded me so much that I literally lost everything. Like it was not a good look for me. And so I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying do what fits you, because that didn't fit me.
Yeah, but you did try.
I tried.
I feel like it's one thing. It's like even about when you, right. Clearly, I'm not in your shoes, so I can't judge either way or having a opinion. I feel like that's just how I roll. But even when you're talking about like not doing chemo this time around, I feel like it goes back to like you already had your experience, and you get to decide. You get to decide. How to move now. Even if none of us understand or agree, but like that's your experience, bro. Like we not in your body. I be like trying to explain to people like there's a totally different experience when you're in the body, like having those symptoms and things. Not saying like I understand fully, but like it's a totally different experience, and it's easy to have an opinion and tell somebody what they should be doing.
And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. If you are not the person going through it, stop it. You are not helping us in any way, shape, or form with all of your opinions. You are not helping us in any way, shape, or form saying that, oh, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. That is not helping us. That is not support. Like saying, well, oh, I want you to go through this treatment because that's going to keep you with me longer. That's not helping me. That's what you want. That's not helping me. You're not thinking about me and my life. You're thinking about you and having me still current in your life because you don't want to let go. That's not my concern.
Yeah.
That's something that you have to actually deal with, not me. Because I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna live my life, baby. Like I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna do whatever it is that I want to do. Like, and you're gonna be mad at me because you're like, oh, I want you to do this, and I'm like, I didn't. So I didn't do it. And I'm going to keep going because everyone is really quick all the time to give an opinion, right? They're like, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Like, oh my goodness, like, and that is extremely overwhelming, right? Because I'm one person and I have all these people that love me, right?
Yeah. Hold on. Yellow, she's a Scorpio. I'm telling you. The energy is like, hold on. Wait, hold on. And I also wanted to talk about that. When you were talking about medicine, Lohan wrote, the side effects be worse than the original issue. And I do want to say something about that. Because I have this thing, the theory in my mind is there's no such thing as side effects, okay? the medicine is doing what it was meant to do. So whatever it's doing, it was created to do, right? So like I know people talk about side effects. I personally don't believe in side effects. Y'all can say whatever y'all want to make y'all happy, but I believe that what's actually happening is what the medicine was meant to do.
Exactly. So, and then you have to get another medicine to make it
to take
stop,
care of that, right.
to take care of that issue over there, and then another medicine to take care of that issue over there. They're trying to keep you medicated, and I can't be medicated. Like,
but it's big business too, right?
It
Pharmacy is big business. That's why you see all of these things, right? And that's just my opinion, right? For today, and it's been my opinion for at least a year and a half. So that's just, still working on it. But I just think that medicine, the world of it, because of the financial gain behind it, and we all know how much money is made from medicine. You can look at New York City, specifically in the Bronx, how much money is made from medicine and having hospitals. So I'm just gonna say where the money actually comes from, even in the poorest cities. Medicine makes money.
Yeah, and even like drugs in general make money. Like whether they're good drugs or bad drugs, they making a whole lot of money, right? So people were willing to pay me for the drugs that these people was trying to give me to keep me alive. They wanted it for recreational purposes. You know what I'm saying? Like drugs make it.
It's like Adderall.
Yeah.
Like on college campuses. And I'm not saying I don't have a thing against medicine, right? I think do what you got to do, but I do keep that in mind, right? Even when people are saying about side effects, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying like that's just how I view things. But I'm not saying whether or not medicine is good. I don't like. I think everything in this world has purpose. Everything. Yeah. And it's just a matter of whatever. I think everything has purpose. But yes, you were talking about your family.
Yeah, so I was just saying that regardless of who the people are to you, you should know yourself and what it is that you can and you cannot do. Because I was saying it's one of me, and I got all these people that love me, right? So I have all these people that love me, and it's one of me, and they continuously, each of them individually, coming to me and telling me what they feel like I should do. Oh, you should do this. Try this. Have you tried this? Like all these people, they love me. And so, yes, they want me to be able to stay around longer. But they're not thinking about me in that moment. They're thinking about the essence and the presence of me and wanting that to stay for a longer period of time instead of me and they're thinking about my physical being able to stay for a longer period of time instead of my essence and my presence. Because my physical will be here for a long time, if I do this. But me, my personality, my energy, my, whatever, that's gone. I'm not going to be able to do that. So you want to just be able to stare at me? Like you want to come and talk to me and have conversations and I'm just going to be looking at you? Like, because it's not going to be the same thing anymore. It's not going to be the same version of me.
Yeah.
No.
And I'm like, hey, I feel that like so deeply, right? Because at the end of the day, even having a diagnosis, whether it's the diagnosis first, right? Because even there can be a shock there can be a death there, right? In a sense that like your world is forever changed. Like there's no question about that, right? And I think that like keeping that in mind, like you're not going to be that same person from 5 minutes ago that just heard that news, right? However, it shifts and changes you. So and imagine once you add chemo to that or you add meds to that are making you feel like a zombie. The person, it's like people with dementia, when I feel like, they trying to hold on to people and it's like, with a family, you know what I mean? Wants to hold on. And it's like,
And like, while we're having this conversation, I don't want to just focus on lupus and I don't want to focus on cancer. I want to speak on just like the illnesses in general that don't have a face, right? Like there are so many different illnesses that you look at somebody and you think they're okay and like you're going about your day to day, but they're actually not doing okay. You know what I'm saying? Like there's memory loss. There's rashes that you might not be able to see. There's pain that you definitely can't see, but they tolerate, things like that. MS, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not something that's visible. And sometimes people try to push that off because they can't see that you're sick. It's like, oh, you're faking, or like, oh, you just want attention, or it can't be that bad. You don't look sick. That's the one that get me all the time. You don't look sick.
No.
And I'm like, what does looking sick look like? Like, because I'm confused.
Yeah, right.
Like, I'm supposed to have like tissue up my nose and like curled up with a blanket or something. Like, what does looking sick look
But
like?
you know what? I was thinking about that earlier, though, right? The expectations we all have about visual things, right? Whether that's the expectation of how capable our body should be, right? My body should be able to do this and that, and it must, right? And that's the only reason, right? If you can do all these things and have all these capabilities. And then the other thing is like assuming that people are okay, right? People with back pain, right? You don't see their back pain or you think they look young, right? You look pretty young. People might not think anything is wrong with you, right? Or that but it's all these assumptions we have about how things should look, how things should be, right? If somebody dies and you go to a funeral, you should be sad. I'd be so confused because I just want to celebrate, and everybody's like, nah, you need to simmer down, right? And so it's all these expectations how we should respond to life or like unhappy news, right? Like all these expectations, and that includes like pain. And I just like that was something that came to me today is like we just have all these expectations, and like instead of us asking questions and being curious. And I want to specifically say that because two things happened during the process of me and you talking. Not right now, but like one time you posted on your stories about your memory loss, and I was like, damn, and you was like, that's life, right? Or something like that, right? And I was just like, right, that is true, right? And so the other thing is too, what else happened? Oh, you were telling me about like the pain, you know, sometimes when people go to hug you, right? Like that lack of mindfulness, right? Like, you know, asking permission, right? And we can even talk about asking permission for everybody, you know, when you approaching them because you don't know what people are going through. But I think like for the first part, when you were talking about the memory loss and I like responded the way I did and your response back, for me, it was a reminder that not everyone sees their life experience and their diagnosis with a lens of darkness, right? And I feel like I'm expected to feel sorry for people, right? Even though that's not my truth. I do not, but that's because of spiritual reasons, right? That I'm like this. But I don't, right? But I feel like in this world, I have to pretend. And if I don't, then I'm not empathetic enough, you know? So that's why, like, I'm trying to work on reprogramming myself not to naturally respond the way I was taught I should feel or respond, because like that is like there ain't nothing for you, right? I think I'm being nice, but really I'm just like
that's like when people like when people lose somebody, you know, everybody's quick to say I'm sorry for your loss. I don't say that because it's not that I'm not sorry, it's just that I didn't do anything, right? So what would I be sorry about? And so it's reframing those words, you know what I'm saying? Reframing the conversation. It's more of being a support to that person than using those words, right? And that's just how life is in general. You have to learn to reframe things for the people that you're, for yourself, for one, because I refuse to say I'm sorry to anything. Like if it's not my fault, I'm not saying I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like when something happens, people are like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Why would I be sorry to, like, what am I sorry about? I didn't do anything. So it's reframing all of that, finding different ways to have conversations with people to where you're not apologizing for something that you didn't do. Do you feel a certain type of way? Yes, but frame that into a way that you can purposefully give it to that person to where they can actually take it in. Because if something happens and somebody's like, oh, I'm sorry for your loss, like, I'm just like, okay. And like shrugging my shoulders and like, because what is that doing for me?
What am I gonna do? Yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't know. I'm still playing around with this whole worldly thing, earth thing. I don't know. But
and so it's just like be mindful and be purposeful with your words and your conversations to people, because that goes a long way. When you know how to tailor your conversations, tailor your emotions, tailor your reactions to the person that you're talking to specifically, that builds a closer relationship between
A
you and that
bond.
person. You know what I'm saying? And so they might feel more open to talk to you. They might feel like they can come and ask you certain things. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, if I'm having one of my flare ups, right? I know whether or not I can be like, okay, I can talk to Charlie because she's going to listen to me and not try to prescribe me with things. She's going to let me express my feelings, express how, you know, I'm like what I'm thinking and things like that, and then keep it moving. Because one of the biggest things about illness in general is depression.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just think about like when you have a cold, right? Simple. You have a cold. What are you doing? You're laying down. You're in the bed.
Mm-hmm.
You're watching TV. You're curled up in a blanket, and you're not going nowhere. You're not doing nothing because you your mind is weakened at that moment to make you just want to sit there and be like, I'm sick. I can't do nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're living with that type of thing all of your life, every single day, the depression hits so hard.
Yeah.
And it's hard to talk to people because they don't understand what you're going through, right? So you got
Mm-hmm.
regular life depression, then you got this depression over
Mm-hmm.
here tied into it. Like it gets really, really dark. And not having that type of support that you need in order to talk through it is hard, because one of the reasons why the depression is so thick is because when you have an illness that literally shuts your body down, your mind still works, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I want to go and do this. I need to go to the store. I need food in the house. I don't have no food in the house. I need to go. Like, oh, I was supposed to go on this trip and now I can't go on this trip. Like, your mind literally starts to like eat at you because there's so many things that you want to do, but you can't do it because, take that back. You feel like you can't do it because your mind is telling you that. Like your body is feeling a certain type of way, and so it's telling you that you can't do it. That's why my coping mechanism is catch a flight.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about that, but before we go there, Chanel asked, "What does support look like for you?"
What? Oh, hey, baby. Support for me is letting me do me. That's
Yeah, you do
support.
need freedom. Yeah.
Yeah. Support for me is letting me do me. Support for me is allowing me to make the mistakes that I might make and still being able to talk to me through it, right? So I went to Colombia with my brother, and I ended
The
up getting
country.
the country, Colombia.
I was like, you went to Columbia, Ohio, and you was like,
Like, I was
no.
like, no, girl, Colombia, the country.
Woo, okay.
Passport
I need the
stamp.
word cultured. Right,
Yeah.
right, right. I haven't been overseas in a while. Woo.
So, and I ended up getting sick while I was there, and it was really bad. I couldn't get on my flight. I was damn near in and out of consciousness, right? And my brother, he had to get on his flight, but he had a friend that was there, and so I stayed with the friend. And when I tell you, him and his mama was like, "Girl, if you don't get your ass on the plane," and I was like, "I can't. Like, I literally cannot do it. Like, I can't. I can't get on this plane because I felt like my chest was super heavy. It was tight, and I felt like the elevation was gonna take me out. And so I was like, I can't, right? But allowing me to have that moment, right? To like still, okay. I mean, I got to stay in Colombia for 2 extra days. That's cool, right?
Wait, did
You
you
know?
end up like going back and just getting a hotel and just staying?
Yeah, so like I never checked, like, so my brother's friend was still there, and so I ended up staying in the room with his friend.
Okay.
And so I ended up staying in Colombia for like 2 more days because of that. Then I had to get another flight, whatever. It was terrible. It was a terrible experience. I don't recommend. But I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So Bree actually, with everything going on, even with what she's saying now, right? Right, because I want everybody to get the like full picture of the bravery, okay? Because I get crazy anxiety, and I'm like, I'm not going nowhere. And Bree's like, I will be your buddy. You gonna be my buddy on this flight? Like, we both need an extra buddy, probably. I don't know. But yeah, so how is it traveling alone? Because you travel alone. So how
Yeah.
is it traveling alone? And you travel often. Like, please just tell us all the things, like how it started. Because I know that this is like one of your ways to manage and cope with
Yeah.
life.
So this is like I told you, am I gonna be in pain and all this other stuff here in Chicago? Or am I gonna be pain in Thailand? You know, like what would I rather see? You know, what would I rather wake up to the next day? And I'd rather be in a different country or a different place, seeing, experiencing the world and things like that, because there's so many people that have my location. Like yesterday I got text messages like, why you in Boston? What are you doing in Boston? I thought you were just in Atlanta. What are you doing? So
Yeah.
yeah, so I have multiple people that have my location. I share it with them so that they know where I am. So that if anything does happen, they were like, well, this is the last place I have had, you know, something like that. I do share hotel information or the information of somebody else, that if I'm with somebody else, they have their information too. So, and that's only a certain group of people, because I don't, you know, I don't like people. So, so in my circle like this, right? And I just keep everything in that. And I think that's probably the best part of it, right? Is to have that circle that you know is gonna answer the phone regardless. You know what I'm saying? Or at least one person that's gonna answer the phone regardless. So I have two of those people in my group, to where regardless of anything, what time it is or whatever, like if I call, they're gonna answer the phone, because I don't call people. I don't talk to people on the phone.
Right. Yeah.
So they're like, oh shit, what's happening? What's going on? But that's also another thing, right? Having people that know you. And so they know how you move. They know, like, if you don't see me on social media, I'm going through something. So it's like, all right, you ain't posted in 2 days. You okay? You good? Like, I have people like that are around me. And so then I have people that are like, all right, you've been posting too much. You okay? You good? Like, it's just, you know, having that balance, you know, like it's really important to just, because sometimes that circle is one person. So it's you being okay with how many people support you, right? And the reason why I'm saying that is because a lot of people don't, like, I don't talk to everybody about my illnesses. Most of them, I don't. Because what are you going to do for me? How are you going to help me, right? But because I don't talk to a lot of people about it, I don't have a lot of people that can support me in those moments, because I don't talk to them about it. So I can't expect for them to support me in a certain way when they don't even know about all of the things, right? So I can't be like, oh, I told you I wasn't feeling well. I told you I was having a flare up, and, you know, like, you didn't check up on me or whatever. I can't expect for them to do that, because they don't know what that's like for me. So they don't know what me being in a flare up is. They don't know what's happening to me. They don't know, you know, things like that. So I can't expect for them to just like rush to my aid. But that's also a part of it, like knowing that you kept this person over here, so you can't expect them to come over here whenever you need them with that, right? And then if you have this person over here, yes, they should very much so be tapping in whenever it's something. But if you don't share that information with that person, you can't expect for them to jump through hoops in order to understand and know and be, you know, right here where you need them to be at. It's not going to happen. So knowing your support levels is very much important. Because if you don't share, they're not gonna know, and you can
Yeah.
expect for them to be somewhere if they didn't know that. So, but I feel like that with everything in life, you know, like you can't know what you did wrong if I never told you, type
Yeah.
situation, right?
I'm
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
So what is it like dating?
oh girl,
Like, when do we have the conversation? What does that look like?
girl, I ain't talking to none of these people about nothing. What you talking about? No, no. Okay, so for me, I really don't talk to many people about it that I'm dating. Girl, that is such a word, like dating. That's ghetto.
I mean, what would you call it? Getting to know?
It's ghetto. Like it's ghetto.
You travel. What? Hey. You
Yeah,
can have
like
like bulls in different area codes if you want it. If you want it.
and do.
And country codes, okay?
And
Country codes and
but no, like I don't like having those conversations with people unless I know it's gonna be something serious, right? Like, because I've made the mistake of telling people too early, and so now they're like watching me breathe, you know, like you okay, you know, like I'm fine, like I didn't say nothing was wrong, chill out, like so it's like so I'm like, oh, you know, I be having sometimes I have seizures at night, right? Sometimes I black out, whatever the case may be. So if I end up having somebody that's actually going to stay the night with me, or I stay the night with them, then I have that conversation. Like, hey, this might happen. Hopefully it doesn't, but just in case, don't panic. First and foremost, roll me on my side, open my mouth. I'm be good, I promise. Like, just let me ride it out.
Bree! Oh. I'm thinking about people who are not comfortable with that kind, like that, who
But,
have heightened anxiety, right? Unless they can ground themselves fast enough.
look, if you're not cool with it, let me know. I'm not staying. Then I won't stay tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just how
I
it
get
is.
that.
Like
Yeah.
So like then that like that's what I'm saying. Like I have that kind of like if I'm gonna be in that person's presence in the time of my weakness, because that's the time of my weakness, right? When I'm supposed to be sleeping, because I can't necessarily control myself, right? Or I can't know when something is gonna happen because that's my downtime, right? So I'm having this conversation with you to let you know, hey, this is my moment of weakness. And so if you can't handle this moment of weakness, let me know. and
That's fair, yeah.
and I'm gonna go, you know, right? Because I don't want you to be put in a situation that you can't handle.
It's like the people that sit near the windows on the plane, you know what I mean? They ask you if you down or you not. Like, you know what I mean? The emergency exit.
Yeah, the emergency exit, right. Yeah. Are you gonna do this? No.
Yeah. Because I know you, Bree, and I just know how matter of fact your energy is, right? Like you're very much like, and for somebody like, not saying that I would react like that, but I just know in other humans, they'd be like, but I know how like calm and like you treat things. You know what I mean? Like you don't treat things like they're chaotic or like it's an emergency. So because of your calm demeanor, I think that's what I was reacting to. Your calm demeanor is what I was reacting to because I'm like, girl, for you, yes, but people with anxiety, it's probably like, ah.
And that's the crazy part because my anxiety is high all the time, but I'm so calm. It's like crazy. I don't know.
Oh, express different, yeah.
Yeah, my anxiety expresses in calmness because you know how they say you got the fight or flight mentality. Oh, I'm gonna fight every time. You know what I'm saying? But like, do I need to swing right now, or like, do you need a couple minutes? Like, like. Like yeah, so my anxiety expresses in calmness first, and then if it continues to escalate, then that's when
you get the
I
other
get aggressive.
stuff.
I get aggressive, but yeah.
It's
Dating is first off, dating is ghetto. It's very much so not giving, and but I do have those conversations. Like, if that person's on my social media, then I kind of have to, because they see some of the things that I post or
Yeah,
whatever,
you
and they're
post
like,
about it.
yeah. So then I have to have that conversation and tell them about it. But if they're not on my social media, not until we have to like be one-on-one in this close capacity that I might be in a moment of weakness. Am I telling you anything? Like, that's the only time. And then if I
Yeah.
feel like we're getting close enough for that, because I have trust issues. Because, you know, like, people will use and abuse that.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, I felt that coming right now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Because people will use and abuse the fact that you are sick. Like, they will hold that against you. Like, they will baby you. They will hold your hand. They will, like, try to play like they a parent to you because of you being sick. But then they'll also weaponize it too and be like, oh, well, I didn't want you to be in this moment because I know that you'd be sick. Or like, you can't take care of yourself. How are you going to take care of somebody else? So I'm going to take these things away from you. And because this is how I'm going to make sure that you're okay. And it's like, how's that making sure that I'm okay? That's another thing with, like I'm saying, stay mindful of the person that you're talking to, right?
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, whatever it is that you think you're taking away from that person that's going to help them, that was helping them. Like having that there present for them was helping them. Because my kids, I don't focus on anything me related, right? So regardless of how much pain I'm in, like how tired I am, or whatever the case may be, I'm going to continuously push myself to make sure that they are okay. So when that is not, when they're not present for me, I'm less mindful of things, right? So it's like, I'm not taking care of things that I need to be taken care of in the majority of the time. And I'm not taking care of myself because it's like, okay, well, you know, like that was my reason. That was my purpose. And my purpose and my reason is no longer here. It's no longer tangible. So now I'm not doing the things that I need to do because that was my purpose. That was the reason as to why I was still pushing forward so much. So if you don't have that present all the time, it's like trying to find a new goal, trying to find a new venue, a new avenue, or something to try to suppress certain things. Because like I said, depression in it is real. So if you're taking something that someone has been focusing on for so long to keep them sane, you take that away from them, that's going to make depression hit even harder. So it's not necessary. Like, it's a double-edged sword. Is that what they call it? Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. So like, I just think it's something that's played with a little bit too much sometimes.
Yeah, and you know, yeah, because I often seen it with people with diagnosed with mental illness, right? Like that's where I know weaponizing from, right? I've witnessed people do it. I've advocated for people when I've witnessed it happen, right? Where people are just like, you know, if you even, especially people that are diagnosed with like schizophrenia, I feel like is one that I feel like that's what most people are diagnosed with, right? Like, because it expresses differently in everybody.
Yeah.
That's another one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like I watch people get aggressive, right? But after you were like poking their soft spots, right? I watch people get aggressive, right? Get defensive, and then everybody is like, oh, like restraining them, or like they have an episode, and I'm like, an episode? Like what? Like I can see why they reacted that way, and I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm just saying like, it's not like they just started acting like that, right? Like they're provoked, like they were provoked. Like, come on, let's talk about it, right? And it's just like, and I'm not saying like that's always the case, but it's just situations like that that I'm reminded of. Like, people will like try to gaslight you just because they know you have a diagnosis. And so like, I feel like, you know, all of us need like advocacies in that sometimes, and people around us to support us in that, because it happens a lot. and it happens at work, and it happens in the hospitals, it happens everywhere, in families, definitely in family law situations. But yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually why I don't necessarily advertise how all of my journey has been, like, back, what was it, a couple of years ago, I had started like trying to get people more aware and like of lupus or just like illnesses in general, right? And I was kind of documenting my process, like how many times I'm in and out of the hospital, like, when I'm having my flare ups and I have rashes all over my face and my body, and like what that looks like, what that feels like, and, just trying to document that journey. But that was used against me to show that, like, oh, you see how often she's not well? And so I was like, So when people are like, oh, well, I didn't know, it's like, I didn't tell you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not sharing it as much as I should because of my fear of it being used against me.
Yeah. And clearly, as much as you want to as well, right? Like, you also want to educate. And right, I've seen it. I've learned a lot from your stories. Okay. Bree does TED Talks and her stories, people. Different TED Talks, but they have it in the stories. They don't have it on the page.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in the TED Talks, they're in the stories. But
I
that's
be
what she
dropping
educates
gems.
a lot. Yeah. She educates there in her stories. And I get it now, right? Like, it makes sense.
Yeah, because everybody don't need to see it.
Everybody
don't. My whole thing is I'll do it through a story, right? Because whoever needs to see it, they'll see it. Because the energy of the world, right? So if you're supposed to see it, you'll see it. And if you weren't meant to see it, then you won't see it. And you got 24 hours to view it. So if you were supposed to see it, you would have came across it. So that's why I do it in my stories and not posting it necessarily on my page, because like it's not for everybody. It's for those that the universe says is supposed to see it. And whoever be watching my page consistently. But yeah, it's just, that's why I say, like, with dating, with just people in general, is sometimes it's triggering for me to share it because I don't like to be seen as weak, right? You know me. Yeah. I don't like for nobody looking at me like, oh, sickly, sick and shut in, like, like, don't do me,
Oh my God.
So like, that's another reason as to why I don't post, because they're like, oh, I didn't know you were sick. And I was like, because I didn't want you to. Like, I don't want you to see me like that, because to me, that's weakness.
That's
right?
What I hear often. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not that, like, I'm saying I'm weak because of this. It's saying that I am feeling more in a weak spot whenever I express it to someone about it. I'm not weak. Me being
it's because
sick
of
is not weak.
Your experience
yeah,
with, like, okay.
Yeah, so it's like I'm not weak. What I'm going through is not a weakness at all, but me being in that moment to actually express to someone, that is my moment of weakness, and I don't like that, because
it feels vulnerable.
It's so vulnerable. Like, it's so raw. And like, we all know I'm very raw and straightforward, but like, that's the level of raw where, like, I don't like to be.
So it's part of that because of like your experience with how people have like
between yeah, well, mostly that, but also like people's views change once you tell them certain things. Like, you can be beefing with somebody and then, like, I know because she has said such and such. Oh, she did, like, it's just, but that's the same type of situation, right? It's like, I'm this almighty powerful being, which I am, and then and then I'm telling you that I have memory loss issues, my organs be failing, I have blackout moments. I be having seizures, and now you looking at me like, oh, this she got issues. Like she got issues, you know. And so it's like for me to have that conversation, I have to watch that person's reaction when I say it, right? Because that's gonna let me know whether or not I can go forward. I give them the little things first, right? Like, oh,
I feel you.
Sometimes I have seizures, and I'll be looking at them, seeing what,
Yeah.
like, what, how you finna react because I say that. Okay, all right. I got the memory loss. That's why I tell you to text me, don't call me. Like, you know.
Is it for you to keep the record?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I be needing people to like text me or video voice memo me, right? Because like Snapchat, I hate Snapchat. Like because what was we talking about? Like
I can feel that. I feel that.
Like what was we even talking about? I don't even know. And so like I really prefer for people to text message me or whatever, and they're like, oh well, I'd rather talk to you on the phone. Okay, but don't be mad if I don't know what we talked about tomorrow. Like,
yeah,
so
that's real.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't feel like I'm weak at all in any way, shape, or form. So don't take that from this.
No, I get that now. I get what you were saying. Yeah. It just puts you in a vulnerable position, and it does. Like,
yeah, it does. It puts you in an extremely vulnerable position because now, like, the fate of your relationship is now in that person's hands. Like
that's a lot.
Yeah, like that's a lot, right? Like so, like now that you just said this to this person, now they get to be like, that's too much, and walk away from you.
Like, but I feel like
the trauma.
But you know, and that's But I feel like that really is, it goes to like so many things too, right? Like you had mentioned earlier about depression. And I feel like when it comes to depression and it comes to illness and it comes to, this is my perception of depression, right? My own experience and just people watching, right? And working with people one-on-one. So I feel like for me, right, it was a death in a way, right? And I talk about like, I'll mention that later. It was a death of whether it was an identity, a dream, right? And people may think it's no big deal, but like, right, if you are working your whole life to, say for instance, become an attorney, right? And like, you're working so hard and all of a sudden you realize, I don't want this, right? Your whole world, you had nothing else planned, right? You had no other idea about what else was going to happen. This was your only thing, right? And now you don't have it. You don't want to be this attorney. You don't want to do this thing. Who the fuck am I? And if I put my identity, my whole identity into that thing, once that thing is gone, who the fuck am I? And so I think a lot of times whether we notice it or not, a lot of times we are mourning who we said we were. We are mourning these dreams we had. We are mourning this thing we believe. And I feel like even when it comes to diagnosis, right? Like I would never forget my homeboy called me to tell me he got diagnosed with diabetes, right? And like just the devastation and feeling like he had failed and all these things. And I was like so shocked at the response, but then I had to realize like his whole world is different, right? Like now he has to eat different. He has to work out, right? Like all these things he wasn't doing.
Right.
The way he has to pay attention to himself, right? Realizing that you can pass out at any moment, right? And it actually happening. His world will never be what it was when we were just out there thotting and bopping, okay? So he can't just thot and bop like that, right? Like, so his life is different. His world is different. What he can eat, what he can drink is changing, right? And so, like, even the people he hang out with now kind of shifts a bit more, right? Like, so it's just, like, so much happens with just those words.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like that is a part, too, like, that we don't recognize. And I don't know how many people get support, you know, once they're diagnosed, because that shit is very real. Like, even divorces, we see it happen, right? If your identity was attached to anything, there's a very high chance you will be depressed if that thing is taken away from you. It does not matter. Like,
yeah, you know, I feel that because
that's why I think,
that's why I said it's ghetto out here dating, because you know I was tied to somebody for so long, and then it's like, this is what out here look like.
Yes.
I might want to go back inside. No.
Do it.
No, we don't.
Okay, really.
We don't.
Woo! Okay. Yeah. So even that, right? Like what dating looks like so much of your life changes so quick with a diagnosis, and I just think that like I don't know. I know I was like I got checked because like that was the first time someone called me soon as they were diagnosed, right? So like me being Charliie, right? This is somebody I've known since I was a teenager, so it wasn't like. But like just me being Charliie and being a smart ass, I'm just like, oh, you gotta take care of yourself now, right? Like not think. And he's like, he was like, yo ass, and I was like, I'm just confused, right? And I was like joking, but like that's the relationship we have, and like but it did calm down the situation, right? So that we could actually have a conversation. But like sometimes like you need a little jokester there to like lighten up the mood so that you can like you can be vulnerable, right? And tell me like what is really what your concerns are, what like how is this shaking up your world.
Yeah.
How everything is different now.
Yeah.
That's why I believe there's worse things than death.
It is. And when you say that with, your whole world changing or whatever, I refuse to change mine.
Talk about it.
Like if not anything, I became more. I became extra,
But even that, right?
Yeah.
It may inspire you to be extra. I think even that is like part of it. How fucking yeah. I told you, I was like, yo, I feel like you got spiced up.
I did.
I feel like you leveled up.
Indeed.
Okay, you had to.
Yeah, I absolutely was like, you know what? I'm gonna do whatever. Like, is Mark still on here? Let's see. I don't know. But he finna have me at one of his shows. Like, I'm doing whatever it is that I want to do. Like I'm stepping outside. I'm doing whatever it is. Like, I'm traveling. If it's something that I ever wanted to do, I'm doing it. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sitting down. And it's not an old living out your last days type thing either. That's not what it is. Like, you start to look at things differently, right? You're like, damn, I spent a lot of time over here doing this when I could have been doing this. Like yesterday, I had on one of my stories, I was like, y'all always talk about when I'm gonna come see you. Like, if it's gonna cost me less to go out the country than to come see you, I'm going out the country. I'm not coming to see you. Like, I'm gonna go do that. Because if I look up a flight, if somebody's like, hey, come see me, and I look up this flight, right? I always look at out of the country flights. And so if that flight is less, I'm booking that one. I'm not coming to see you. I'm going over there instead. Like,
do you have like a thing where like is there a certain amount of time you can sit down before you feel like I have to be on a flight?
Nah, I'm like always on one. Like, sometimes my body tells me I have to sit down. But my mind, I be like running, like, where are we going to next? Like, yeah. Like, so while my body is telling me I need to sit down, I'm booking my next couple of flights. Like, I'm seeing where I'm going next. Like, because I'm not gonna just be sitting here. Yeah. It doesn't make
when
did
you decide that? Like, do you feel like you decided that one day, or like?
Well, it was kind of okay. So I'm gonna tell you this. So Tiana Taylor, she had. You are obsessed with. Yeah, my baby.
Still? Okay.
Still love my life. So she had her tour last year at the end of last year, and so for my birthday month, I went to like 6 of her concerts in different states. So I went to Houston. I was supposed to go to New York, but that's when my body told me I need to sit down. So I went to Detroit. That's where I got to see her again. Hey, baby. Detroit, Houston, Georgia, Chicago, of course, and I can't even remember the other places. But I started doing that for my birthday month, and I was like, I like this. Like, I like being in different places. Like, I like the ability to just go and do. So I just started looking up things. I'm like, who having a concert? Okay, I'm gonna go fly out to that concert. Like, what city is this in? Have I been here before? I really don't like to be in the United States at all.
You know, I was gonna ask you. Literally, that's one of my questions. Is like, do we have a preference? Do we like the States, or are we going overseas?
We're over.
So, we have a preference. Okay, we're going overseas.
Stamp me, please. We out.
That's so funny.
Yeah, like I prefer not to be here. Like when people are like, where are you going to next? And then I tell them somewhere overseas, they be like, why you don't travel nowhere in the States? I do. I just don't consider that traveling. Like,
Okay.
it's like,
I love it.
it's like I took a trip, you know, like that's
Yeah.
different. Traveling and taking a trip, that's different to me, you know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
So it's like I took a trip in the States. When I'm traveling, then I'm out the country. You know what I'm
Can you tell me
saying?
about, is there a defined difference for you, or like it's just
Yes.
energetically? Okay.
It's like it's very much so cutthroat, like very much so. I don't even tell people about when I'm moving around in the United States because it doesn't matter. Because like I'm still here. I'm still I'm still accessible, right? I'm still here. I'm still accessible. It's when I'm out here and I'm like, oh shit, my bad. I'm gone. You can't even get to me. You know, like check my location. I'm thousands of miles away. Like I'm gone. But
Yeah.
like
I
I
was
like
just trying to
that.
think, like, where have I seen you travel earlier this year? Because I feel like I saw you like moving a lot.
Yeah, I was in
Mm-hmm.
Colombia, Panama. Where else did I go? Colombia, Panama. I think I've been in 4 countries
This year.
this year, and it's about
So
to
do
be.
you do overseas solo? Because I feel like you said, stateside, I get, right? Like, I don't know why, because I don't know, right? Because for the other countries, when you do go overseas, do you need to like research medical stuff, or you just like, you know what I mean? Do that matter?
I
I don't know.
mean, yes and no. And I say yes and no because the being able to tell like, so I already have to have all these tests and stuff done like weekly, right?
Oh.
So if something happens to me while I'm out of the country, then we have to have all these tests and stuff run again, even though it was already done if they can't get in touch with my doctors or whatever, right? And I hate the process. Like, it makes no sense because they don't spend all this time running all these tests on me and everything else like that instead of listening to me. And so I just be like, give me my record and I'm gonna carry it with me and I'm gonna give it to them. So if something happens, because update
Bree,
me,
thank you for that. Why didn't I
yeah,
think of that? Thank
Up,
you.
update my record
Yeah.
and I'm gonna take it with me. Thank you, appreciate you. And like, because you don't need the whole thing, right? Like you just do like the most updated version of it or
Wow.
whatever, right?
Okay.
And then just take it with you. And I thought of this after Colombia when I was sick as hell.
Right.
Because I told my brother, I was like, I'm not going to the hospital. I don't know what you're talking about. We're in Colombia. They come out here for BBLs and teeth. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do with this type of care. You know what I'm saying? So
I know what they're known for.
yeah,
I don't know about this.
this I don't know about this part, right? I know they do some good BBLs and some nice teeth, okay? But I don't know about this part. So, because I think you just gotta have a certification over for that. Like, no. But after that, that's when I was like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm good because it was scary. I'm not gonna lie. It was. It was a scary experience. And like my brother, he knows that I'm sick. He knew whatever, but he's actually never even experienced me being sick. So that was his first time. And we were out of the country and we were literally getting ready to leave, like about to go to the airport when it
And I'm
happened.
also curious about your family, like their reaction to like your um your diagnosis and your traveling, right? Because you just clearly you're my people, right? We're the same soul family in my world, right? Because we're just rebels, right? Regardless of what we're gonna do, what we want to do. Don't know why, it just happens.
Yeah.
Like it's like it happens. So how does your family respond if they have any, right? If they have any concerns?
Most of the time they don't, right? Like they don't necessarily They just don't. You know, like they don't really get it, right? Like I love it. I love it to the point that they treat me like a regular person. That they're not, oh, she can't do this, she can't do that. Oh, this happened, this happened. But it's definitely not like that type of energy where it's like, oh, I can come to all of them and be like, oh, this is happening. I need help and support in this moment. And yeah, that's not it. That's not it at all. Because everybody knows, like you said, I'm gonna do what I want to do, right? So my family looks at me like that. They're like, if she want to continue to live, she gonna continue to live. Like just like, you know, like she gonna do whatever it is she wanna do. She not gonna sit up here and, you know, pay attention to nothing that nobody say. Because I don't. Like, not even with the doctors. I don't even care what they said. I'm still here right now. And they told me I was supposed to die 2 months ago. So like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You know what we're doing? We're going to Paris in 2 weeks. That's what we're doing.
Are you? I was gonna ask you too, like, where are you going next? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Wait, so I do have a question, right? I feel like I'm not afraid of death, but you know, I think it's easy to say it when it ain't coming to you right now, right? Like I feel
Yeah.
like I always tell myself, like, I just don't want to suffer, right? Whatever the fuck. Like I don't know what death looks like, right? Clearly I haven't died. So I don't fucking know, right? But you know, we all have these theories and ideas of the process. So, so I am curious, like when you heard that, right? Like the amount of months they gave you or years, like did that scare, like, you know, what feeling came up for you? I think that's maybe, if any.
I think I just was like, eh. Like I really I really was like, okay. Like I really didn't. I really didn't have a reaction. Like I really, so a man told it to me. And when I say a man, I mean a human, like a
Yo,
yeah, like a physical human being told
right.
it to me. And so I was like, okay,
You
like,
just telling me what's possible, and I already know that I'm gonna die at some point.
right.
That's
I
funny as
was
shit.
like, okay, like, duh. Duh, I'm gonna die. And they was like, oh, you got probably like 6 to 9 months. And I was like, okay. Why would I trust you though? You know, like, I don't know you. I don't, like, why would I trust you? Like, I know me. I'm fine. And they're like, no, what? And I was like, nah, I'm trying to tell you. I know me. I'm fine. I've been in this body for 33 years.
Yeah.
Me and this body done went through a whole lot of things. I'm fine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and if something does happen, then okay. But it was all in design, you know what I'm saying? Like it was already defined and the purpose was already written out and all that other stuff. And so I'm
Yeah.
not going to
And
be
I think all you can literally do is live. Like there's
yeah.
nothing else you can do, really, right? Like yeah, clearly they could be like, oh, you could do this and you know what I mean, medicine and
Yeah.
all this other stuff. But the other side of that is just and continue to live. Like you're in debt right now, so you got
Yeah.
opportunity if you want it, right? You got breath if you want, you know, if you want to do whatever it is that life that you're interested in, keep going.
Yep. And that's exactly what I'm doing and that's what I plan on doing because I mean, if I'm gonna go out, I'm going with a bang. You know,
Yeah,
like
and you work full time, right?
yeah, I do.
So that's a whole other thing. I'm always like, because that's another thing, right? So when I think about different chronic illnesses, because of the fact that like the symptoms can come in differently, right? I
Mm-hmm.
feel like sometimes it may be challenging for people to be consistent. And I'm just right, like
Yeah.
not because you don't know. Maybe you may wake up and you got this migraine that just won't stop, right? And being in front of the screen is the last thing your body wants, right? Like, what do you know what I mean? Like, I have I ask people these things because I'm like, right? Like, not everybody can continue to work a job. It just depends on what the symptoms are and how they're expressing and presenting. Because for some people, the pain is just so bad or the symptoms are just so like active constantly and different diagnoses, not necessarily like lupus or cancer, but so I'm always like
Yeah.
even impressed with that. I'm like,
Yeah, it's just having like that conversation with
the
the
employer.
people that you work for, like
Mm-hmm.
having that conversation because if they know that you're having issues. I'm just gonna say having issues because it could be, when I say having issues, because it could be mentally health related, it can be physically
Yep.
health related, you know, things like that. Like as long as they know that you have those things going on and you can, like, it's a job that allows you to be free and to
Can
do you.
accommodate, yeah, and it's not
Yeah.
unreasonable, yeah.
Yeah. So I actually have that right now. So I pretty much the only reason I've stayed with them for so long, to be honest. Um,
Yeah,
but
we like that.
because we have that understanding, we have that relationship to where it's like I can be like, today's not the day, can't do
Yeah,
it.
and clearly we know that there are laws that protect this,
Yeah,
yes. But
yeah,
at the same time, we also know humans. so,
yeah.
yeah.
And Bree, Bridget Johnson is never bringing you a doctor's note. So if I tell you I need to sit it out for a minute because I'm having health issues, I'm not bringing you a doctor's note to
Mm-hmm.
verify that
Yep, you
that
have
I'm
the
having
right.
some issues. Like that's never going to happen. Because if I'm having a mental break, you want me to do what? Talk to who?
Mm-hmm.
Bring you what? To saying that I need to sit down for a second, or else I'm gonna snap on all of y'all. Like, like,
Actually, I'm
like
doing y'all a favor.
right?
I'm
Like,
taking this pause.
thank me. Thank
I feel like
me
that's
for
how we be
thinking of
feeling
you.
sometimes. Like, I'm doing this for all of us, not just me.
Right.
All of us are being blessed right now.
You're like, oh,
So,
you
yeah.
can't take the day off. Who can't take the day off? Oh, I'm gonna take the day off. I'm gonna take
Yeah.
it. Like,
Mm.
you gonna see me tomorrow or maybe the next day, whatever day I come in. And I think that's another thing. Like, people really don't represent for themselves. You know what I'm saying? And especially when it comes to having chronic illnesses, they don't represent themselves enough, right? They overwork themselves just like like a regular person. Like they overwork themselves just like
Mm.
someone who doesn't have an illness or something like that, and so they make themselves worse instead of having that conversation with their people to be like, yo, sometimes I need to, I need a half a
Yeah.
day, or I need to take the day off, or you know, like I need Friday, or I need Monday, you know, I
Yeah.
might need a 3-day weekend instead of a 2-day weekend. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm.
you have to be able to advocate that for yourself because if you don't, nobody else will. And do not feel like you have to take them people any type of paperwork to tell them that you are sick. Like that.
Yes. Make sure y'all know the
Yes.
laws, not just federal, but
Yes.
state, city. Like if you have that, because New York has state and city regulations, and
Yeah.
they pile up. Okay, so yeah, make sure you're checking your state, as well as the federal regulations.
Yeah.
You might need to be doing some paperwork. Make sure you're keeping track too on like how you're being treated. If you feel like you're being discriminated against, this is not legal advice. I'm just giving you ideas. I was like, wait, let me watch myself. Yes, but look into the laws of the federal, state, and if you live in a city, of course, the city.
Yes,
Just
because
so you know, right, what they can actually ask of you, because that will be in the regulations.
yep.
But yeah, you want to know what the policies and procedures are. You want to know your rights. You want to know what their responsibility is, because employers also have responsibility. So you want to make sure that that as well, right? Like there's protections out there, and even like being discriminated against because you have a disability of any sort. Like you make sure you do your research. Don't, because
Yeah.
I do feel like I've watched people overwork themselves, like you're saying, because they don't want to seem weak, or they don't want to seem like they need all this help, or they need special credit, special accommodations. If you need it, you need it. I feel like I'm gonna just go on a little tangent here, because I feel like a lot of times, like I said earlier, we have this expectation of what a well-able body is, how we should utilize it, what it should be like, and if somebody else don't have the similar things, and somehow they're not a whole person, right? Because they can't do all the things. But there's a reason why we're all made differently, and I know, and I'm not trying to say like, oh, being diagnosed is not the worst. Yeah, like I'm not trying to judge any of that. What I'm saying is that the bodies we have, whatever the journey is, there's a purpose for it. Like you still have purpose. And I always like, especially encourage my friends. Like, I'm like, yo, this is the body you got. What we want to do with it, right? Like, because that's where sometimes you gotta get to, because like things are different, right? And I know like for you was like not for me, but I'm like, yo, for some people, whether it's like you realize like I'm living out even louder, or this or that, like whatever approach you take. But I know people who generally still beat themselves up years later from their diagnosis because their body can't do what it used to, and they literally live still in those years where their body was doing all these things that it no longer does for them, right? And like they get stuck there, and it's all the shame and guilt that they're living with, which is only exacerbating their like mental health issues, right, and concerns.
Yeah.
So like I know this is super layered, and so I'm definitely grateful for you for having this conversation with us, because this is such a layered topic, and I know we're not touching on everything, but we're touching on a lot. But yeah, like all the things, like please, please, please. I know it's not it's easier said than done, but please do the inner work. If you recently, whenever you were diagnosed, if you're still having a hard time accepting your new body, accepting your the expansion of your body, right? Like, yes, I definitely would say like try, do some inner work, because like a lot of that is just accepting where you are now and not living where you were, right? Yes, that was your experience, and it was so significant and important, and at the same time we're here now, right? Like how can we be here now and enjoy life still?
Yeah. And sometimes a diagnosis is not a curse. Sometimes a diagnosis can actually be a blessing, right? Because I don't know your friend, but like the one with diabetes, maybe changing lifestyle was needed, right? So maybe that change in the lifestyle, changing the people, changing how they're eating, how they're drinking, maybe that was very much so needed, right? So a diagnosis is not a curse all the time. Sometimes you have to be diagnosed in order to weed out certain things, in order to be
your body communicating,
to be a healthier version of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like I was drowning, like I was drowning in depression, right? And you would think these people telling me this is like gonna make it even worse, and it didn't. That lightened me. Like it, for some reason, it lifted something off my chest, right? So I'm like, fuck it. Like, and that's just how I'm living life, right? It's like I'm not living like it's my last days or nothing like that. I'm living like I always should have been, because everybody knows me. I do what I want to do. I go where I want to go. But I have been confining myself for such a long time that I had not been able to be 100% Bree.
Yeah.
So this diagnosis didn't hurt me. It helped me. And I'm pretty sure that's why I'm still kicking, because, baby, I got things to do.
Period. Okay.
I still got things to do. I still got things I need to accomplish. Like, what are you talking about? And anytime that you see me, I am going to look the part, because that's how I'm living my life. Like, I am giving main character energy from this point going forward. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to see me looking raggedy and bummy or nothing like that. Because if you end up catching a flick of me somewhere, like, post it. What's up? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I used to hide from the cameras. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to hide from cameras. I hated to see myself in the mirror, like all that. But now I'm like, this is a blessing for you. Like, what's up? Like, you got to see me in person. Take this picture. Like me being here around you. This is a blessing for you. Like, take it. Eat it up. And I'm not saying that in like a cocky sense either. I'm saying that it's a blessing because the energy around it, right? Like, it's a blessing because of the manifestation of life, right? So when you really think about it, if I wasn't supposed to be here, that means you wasn't supposed to be here around me at this point in time. We weren't supposed to have this conversation. We wouldn't be having other people be informed on certain things, you know what I'm saying? Things like that. So everything it's a
That's
manifestation of
perfect.
life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I'm like,
I love that.
I'm just like,
Yeah. And just to piggyback on what you said earlier, like sometimes it can be a blessing. And I totally agree because like, I just feel like you just don't know, right? Like in a sense that like I said this to you earlier about you never know how other people can impact you,
yeah,
right? Like I have this deep belief, I've experienced it, and I see it very often where like people are like, I'm not this person, or this is my personality, and all these things, but then they come across somebody else, and all of a sudden they're the opposite of what they said they are, and they never were. They have
right,
never seen that version of themselves. But the thing is, like, things can be activated in us, right? There's dormant energy. Each of us, in my opinion, is a representation of what's possible. But we're all connected to source. So in my
yes,
opinion, we can all be an example of like any energy, any quality, right? So like I can mimic people behavior all the time. I can mimic people mannerisms. I've done it before. I've seen it before, unconsciously doing it and consciously doing it. So I know it's possible. I know it's possible to tap into energy and mimic it. Um, and so I feel like when people get diagnosis, right, it can wake them up, and it can also put them in depression, then wake them up.
yeah,
And I notice it, and I know I never try to be like, oh, something tragic has to happen in order for you to have your awakening, right? Your moment where you're
yeah,
just like, oh, the world is not what I thought it was. But oftentimes that's what happens, right? Like we end up, I do believe that certain things can manifest physically. Like for me, when I stress like very, very heavily, like when it's like out of control, I get bad stomach pains, and I literally can't do anything, but it's just really, really bad. And I didn't know what was wrong with me, hence why I have issues with doctors. I was telling you a little bit about it earlier, like because they couldn't diagnose it, right? Like they was doing all these CT scans, they was like they found something, but it was benign, and eventually the pain just went away. And then it came back a couple of months later. And then I realized, I'm like, oh shit, this is stress.
yeah,
Right. But it's just a reminder to all of us, like our mental health, physical, all of that is connected. I know that the doctors and the health insurance, want to separate it, but I really do feel like it's all connected, right? Like it needs to be some kind of balance or harmony, and that, mental health issues can manifest physically. And at least that has been my experience. And I've heard other people say that they believe that they got different illnesses as a result of like stress and depression, other things. So, it's a
no,
belief out here.
yeah, that's very true because any time that I am in a very bad mental state, my health declines.
Mm.
And that's also why I'm focused on being happy and living my life and doing the things that I need to do. Because if I sit in a negative headspace, it's gonna impact me to a deadly point, and I'm not here for that. So,
Yeah.
like that's why I'm living. I'm
Mm.
living. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really like, what else is there to do? At this, like, that's how we're like,
Like
I
it's
don't know.
like, oh, I woke up living again. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I'm happy that you're choosing to live.
yeah,
Like, because I do think that that's like, I definitely say this to people. Like, it was so many years in my life that I can literally say I was just existing. I was just had goals. I made them. I wasn't excited about them, but I was hoping somebody, like my parents, would be excited about it. Um, it was a mess. I was living for other people, honestly, thinking
yeah.
that that was a way to get love, but that is not the answer, people. Do
It's
you?
not.
The best way to be loved is just to be yourself. At least my opinion and my like. There's nothing you can do to make somebody love you, like truly love you.
Yeah,
So
it's nothing
no
that you
choice,
can do.
nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Like
And
so.
it's very important to really put that energy into yourself
Mm,
because if you know you and you know your body and you know your mental, it's going to help you in so many different ways, right? Because like we were talking about before, I don't put myself around certain people that give me that shake my spirit in a negative way. Like if I'm around you and I get agitated easily, I gotta move. I gotta go because it's something about you, something about your presence, or something, your aura that is not sitting right with me, and I'm not gonna take that on because I mimic energies as well. And if you want to smoke, I'm gonna give it to you.
Oh my
You know
god.
what I'm saying? But like I'm not trying to do things like that. And so it's like I'm gonna remove myself from certain situations. I'm gonna remove myself from being around certain people, because if just being in your presence irritates my spirit like that, then I can only imagine like what you would actually do to me. So like I just
Mm.
have to go ahead and let that go.
Okay, that's like yeah, and that goes. I say this. I feel like I say this every time I'm in a car, and that goes back to trusting yourself. Because I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of life is like literally trusting yourself. Because at this point, we're starting to all realize like energy is fucking real, and like people can put on these faces and these fronts all day long, but their energy they can't manipulate that too much. So what you receive, what information your body's receiving,
Take it.
heed to it. And not
Thank
just
you.
that, but with anything, right? Like you said, with your traveling, right? Like you know your body's like, you better rest. Like those kind of hints, like you knowing what's best for you. Like, yeah, people can tell you don't do this, don't do that. But at the end of the day, you need to know your body so that,
Yeah.
like you said, you can advocate for yourself at the doctor's office. And all that is just like literally paying attention to yourself, knowing what your energy feels like. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm by myself a lot, so I always know. But when I go outside, I be like, because my energy to adjust if I don't go outside for a couple of days, it's like,
Yeah.
when you're not
And
around other people.
and like even though I be out here, I be traveling and everything, like I still don't really be around people, right? Like, cause I told you I don't like people, but so
It's
like
so interesting.
when I do get around people, I'm like I'm standoffish at first, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you know I read people first, and then after I read your energy, then I'm like okay, and then I'll come up and engage in the conversation or whatever the case may be. But I'm not initially gonna be like, oh hey, how you doing? You know,
Yeah,
like
very true.
it's just not gonna happen. Like I'm gonna if I'm getting ready to walk into somewhere and like I open the door and it feel like a whole gust of wind just hit me, I'm not going in there.
I love it. Yeah.
I'm not going in there. There's something in there. I don't need to be a part of it. So I'm gonna go find me somewhere else to go.
I
Like
love it. Yeah,
yeah,
because those are ways of us honoring ourselves, taking care of ourselves, right? Like just being there for ourselves. Like just because I got invited don't mean I belong there.
right. Like you invited me, I know you, but I don't know who all finna be over there. You know?
But we're very much like that. We've always been
Yeah.
like that, though.
Like
Like,
it's
that's
like
a no.
or I'm finna just stick by you the whole
We
time I'm
always find out
there.
one person.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's also a projector thing. I know that you're new to your human design, but yeah, I feel like that's also a projector thing. We need our one-on-one focused person. Like, all right, I got this.
Yeah.
Um,
As long as I got my
yeah.
wingman, I'll be all right.
That's what it's starting to feel like these days. I'm like, you know what? At this point, I'm leveling up on my weed intake. Like, I can now take a puff and go outside. Before I couldn't be outside. Okay. She's still
I
gonna
still
save
can't.
up.
Yeah, I still can't even do it. I still be
Right.
like,
See,
did
but
you
yeah.
see that?
I get what you mean. Yeah, same. Usually I don't play those games, but now it's like, all right, my body's like, we got this. I'm like, all right, cool. But yeah, I feel like we talked about so much. Is there anything else that you feel like that you want to say? Not that I missed out, but
I guess we can just kind of go through a whole little synopsis again real quick. All right,
okay.
so
Oh, this is gonna be perfect because this is the part I'll probably like cut. You know what I mean? To make a little
yeah,
snippet. Go ahead.
all
Okay.
right. Okay, so when it comes to being a supportive person for your friend who has a chronic illness, allow them to be themselves. Be support. That's the way to show them support, is to allow them to represent themselves how they want to be seen at that time, and then allowing them to make changes as needed.
Mm.
Putting and projecting yourself, your wishes, your thoughts, or whatever onto them in that time is not necessarily a benefit for them. It's probably going to harm them more than it's going to help them. And because then they're going to be looking to please you instead of looking to please themselves. So that might actually have their health deteriorate instead of progressing. So get yourself out of your mind and put them in your mind.
Mm.
So that's for the support piece. Then if you are someone who is suffering.
Wait, I also have a question. Do you ever recommend people? I don't know if Lo's here. Lo's probably not here, but I think maybe she mentioned a support group. I feel like to me before, like I feel like there's like support groups that family members can go to.
Yeah, there are support groups that family members can go to. There's training classes.
Yeah. Okay.
That is so funny to me that you need a training class on how to support somebody, but like it's out there.
What do you mean? Bree, it makes sense. This is not all of us grew up in households that are fucking.
I mean, I didn't grow up in a household that is. We are very much
that teach you the
no. I'm saying we are very
skill
much so. I grew up very much so hands off, right? I had to learn it, right? But it's just weird that it was like,
funny.
yeah,
Yeah.
we can teach you how to
Be
be a support person. But I was like, okay. But yes, there are groups out there that will, if
Wait,
you're
that's
feeling.
funny. Have you ever went to a group?
Absolutely not.
Right. I figured you would say that, but I just wanted to ask. You might surprise me.
If I go, it'll be for my comedy show. Right down some shit. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not saying don't go.
I'm gonna add something. Cause I feel like I know people gonna want us to get to the point and we like playing and not playing, but we're like laughing in between.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not saying don't go. Definitely go if you really want to know how to help and support your person. I feel like personally, you should ask them because no one can train you how to like. You can't go to a class on how to treat me, right? Because they don't know me. You as a person, you know me, and so you know how to adapt and to adjust to me. But no, you know me, so you know how to adapt and adjust to me. But these other people don't. So going to a training class, like maybe they'll give you the foundation. They'll give you the foundation of how to be a supportive person, but you still need to be able to tailor it directly. So I'm not saying don't go because they might help you to
give you a
initiate it. Yeah, a foundation. Yeah. So definitely do that.
Question.
Yeah.
Do you personally, as yourself, do you have an issue or do you get frustrated when people ask you questions to like about your illness? Like people that like when you first tell someone you love, like say for instance me, right? Like if I like you love me. Like you tell somebody you love, right? And they have a bunch of questions. Like, do you feel like I feel like that's why I was hesitant to ask so many questions. So I know some people feel like, oh, you should go do your research and then come back. And I'm kind of like, well, I already did the basic stuff, but like that ain't telling me nothing. That's just giving me general information. Cause I'm like you, where I feel like I need to know specifically what this looks like for you. Like that's the kind of person I am. I'm not all about this. I believe that information is helpful, right? But I'm a person that like I learn by experience. So I don't that's how I really learn.
Yeah.
So
so I recommend people to ask me questions.
Oh, thank you.
Because like I said, it doesn't look the same. It doesn't feel the same for everybody. You know, some people they can't travel. They can't get out of bed. They have that like there was at one point in time where I had to be carried to the bathroom and I had to be bathed because I couldn't do it myself. So, you know, there are different times and different symptoms and things like that. And so you can't just lump everybody together because everybody's experience is not the same. So I would recommend asking questions. But you also have to make sure that that person is in a space to where they are able to give you those answers because it takes a little bit of time to be able to process through it first, right? So I think I told you like I was trying to document it a couple of years ago or whatever. I was crying. Like I was like, okay, so this and I'm like restarting the video over and over again. Like I could like it was hard. But you know, you gotta be in a space to be able to have the conversation. And that was actually healing for me, to be able to try and talk through it, because no one ever knows that I'm sick unless you know me personally. Like, you, unless they were one of the ones who had to take me take me to the ER or something, because I was like, I'm not going, and they're like, put your ass in this car.
Yeah, you're definitely one of those people that, like, you're on the phone and you're like, go to the hospital, but you just have to hang out with you and just go to your house and get you, because it's like, she ain't going to no fucking house. Let me go get to her ass.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly how it happened.
Yeah, you're definitely that.
Yeah. So, like, being in a space that, asking them if they're in a space that they can share is important, because it can be more triggering sometimes, but sometimes having that conversation will be what they needed in order to be able to process it, because they might have been going through it by themselves, or they thought they were going through it by themselves, but you asking more detailed questions and trying to get an actual understanding of it, then they're like, oh, well, I do have you as my support. You know, that makes them feel a little bit better, because, like we said, everything is different. So I highly recommend.
Okay. Yes. Makes sense. Yeah. And maybe even like asking during times when they don't have a flare up, right? And I mean, like, I know what you're talking about, you know, because even, right, like, even not having a flare up, still talking about it can be still raw. But even, and like, because I know too, like, I think about it like this, like, I don't want to wait until somebody is in an emergency to then find an answer, right? Like, that's just how I am. Like, I worked in a lot of places that was very reactive, right? And I don't like that for my nervous system. And not saying that, like, but I do okay when people are having, surprisingly, I actually do really well when people are in, like, crisis modes. Like, I've actually witnessed myself, and I'm like, oh shit, you're really good. Like, you kept calm, girl. You ain't make them more anxious than they were, and like, you took care of them, right? But this is because I had already done research prior, and we had conversations about like what would help them, when the time came. So I think too, like, during those moments where maybe the symptoms aren't as active and they're dormant, that can be a time to have conversations, time to, like, you know, just get to know, right, to the extent you might want to or need to.
Yeah, because in the midst of it, you probably shouldn't do that. Because it's not a good time. It's not a fun time. Everybody is the devil, and leave me alone. Like, because it's really, it's if I told you, it puts you into a space to where, like, you can't deal with certain things, right? Pretty much anything. Like, hey, good morning. Why are you so freaking happy? Like, you know,
Everything's a trigger.
Everything.
Like, why are you smiling for?
Like, you're opening the blinds. Like, why are you so happy? Close the blinds. It's dark in here. Like, that's how I want it. You know, it's just definitely making sure that you're having the conversation at the right time is important, because having that conversation the wrong time can also push you further away from that person, because it's like you weren't paying attention to the fact that I was in pain, and then you're sitting here and you're coming to me and talking to me and asking me all these questions in the midst of my pain.
And then depending on where the person is on their journey, right? That can be taken as like a rejection. It can be taken as you're being abusive to me. Like, it can be taken so many ways too, and that creates a whole other cycle, right? Oh shit, I don't know, for some reason that just took me somewhere else. I'm like, yes, I witnessed that become a whole, like,
it probably did it take you to the what's it called, the caregiver, and how the caregiver is usually the one that's abused the most, and they still show up every day, and, you know, like, they taking care of everything, but they're the ones that's getting cussed out, they're the ones that get swung on, they're the ones that's, like, you know, going through everything under the sun to care for this person. And that's a tough person to be too, you know? So it's like so many different layers of all of it.
So does it help when people go, do you ever take people to the hospital with you, and does it help? Like, is that, I mean, your doctor's appointment?
Once. I only did it once. And it was because my ex didn't believe me. It's the only reason why I did it. Because I lived with this man every day. And he was like caring for me, but then at one point he was like,
it's so funny when you say ex, but we talk about an ex-husband, people, right? Like, every time you say ex, because I'm thinking like little boyfriend. I'm like, wait, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about years here.
this is true. Okay, so
okay.
we was
Yeah.
together for like 13, 14 years. So
yeah.
he was with me through a lot of it. But for him, I didn't look sick. Like I wasn't getting rashes and things like that. To him, I was just tired. I was lazy, you know, like whatever the case may be. And I was like, I really just can't. Like I don't have it. I can't function, nothing. Like I was forgetting my kids' names, like everything. It was like really bad. Like I'm like, taller one, come here. like it was bad.
I was curious too about whether or not you talk to your kids about your symptoms, or do you ever have to mention it? I guess for the oldest one.
No, they know that I'm sick sometimes, but they don't know it in detail like that. Yeah. So like they've known for a long time that I'd be sick sometimes, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But not in detail. My oldest, he actually gets migraines like I get migraines. And so I'm like, we're gonna take you to the doctor ASAP. Like, what is going on? Because he get them so bad when he's throwing up and like.
Oh yeah, I've heard it. Yeah, I've witnessed people in that kind of pain. That like, and they can't drive. I know he's like young, he don't drive, but like, cause like those migraines where you can't drive, where you can't be in light. Oh my god, I've like been around. I had to drive somebody without a license because they couldn't drive because of the migraine, but they wanted to get back to the dorms, and we was like off base.
Yeah,
but
he just turned 11, so there's nothing to give him. You know, like we're not giving him Excedrin and you know things like that. Like so, it's like trying to find ways that can help him without it being that type of medication. You know, it's a little.
Yeah, and migraines are so different from headaches. Okay, so I'm like, that's a whole different world.
It's a whole different world.
But no, I definitely ask because like I feel like a lot of times, right? I don't have kids, so I don't know the perfect answer. And I think that every child is different, right? Because if they're mature to a certain extent, you have different conversations with them. But one thing I'm thinking about is like, you know, when a parent is not feeling well, right? And that you're not up with the kids like you usually are. I feel like a lot of things can be assumed.
Yeah.
And not the kids, right? Because the kids don't know, right? So they don't fucking know what's happening, right? But if they overhear their parent having a conversation, their grandmother having a conversation about you, right? It's so easy that whatever they're saying, especially if they don't believe you're sick.
Right.
Right? Because kids, we can say all day, oh, they was on their iPad, they're not listening. Who ain't listening?
Right. They hear everything.
Okay. These kids, yeah. So, so that's why I asked about that, because I always, right? Because, like, all this matters, like, with their upbringing, right? Like, them knowing, you know, oh, well, mom was in bed a lot today, or, so that's why I asked, like, whether or not they know that sometimes I just don't feel well, or my, you know, whatever they know.
Yeah. They just know that sometimes I don't feel well. Basically, it's like, mommy been sick our whole lives. Like, that's pretty much, oh, she's having a moment. Okay. Like, yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of how I was growing up. My mom, like she was who she was, but there was nothing I could do. But all right, that's where we at today. Cool. But yeah, wow. All right, so your husband is your ex-husband. Sorry, your ex-husband is the only one that you actually. Let me just call him your ex. I feel like you're way more comfortable with that. But your ex is the only one you've taken to the doctor. But would you be open to like other people going to the doctor with you, or not yet?
I mean, I'm not against it. It's just that it's just never happened, right? It's never been a thing like this. Somebody's like, oh, let me go with you. Even when I took him, I was like, no, you finna come with me so these people can tell you what's going on with me because you think I'm playing. So, like, come on. Appointment's at 2:00. We got time.
That's so interesting. You know, everything in my body is like, the other old Charliie is back right now. And she's like, let's go pull up. Who are you talking to now? Oh, man, this is interesting. I can't. I love it. And I also can't deal. But this is real life, though, people. Like, this is the real life that people are going through. And I think that, like, And it even goes further, because one thing the other day I realized, like, you have no idea what people are going through, and you have no idea about, you know, the things that they don't talk about, and just all the pain, you know, that other people are
Yeah.
experiencing in different ways for different reasons. Because, right, they see you on live. Like, I feel the same way. Like, sometimes I feel like I'm posting always so happily that people have no idea where I'm actually at, right? Thank God for friends and community. Because we assume. I feel like I've done it to other people too, where you just assume, oh, they posting because they good. And it's like,
Yeah.
damn it. Until I experienced it myself, but now I'm like checking in on people like, yo, what's up? Like, you good? You all right? Like, I know that post could have been written like 8 weeks ago. So,
Right.
you know what I mean? So let me check in. Or you can still be having a rough time and have happy moments.
Yeah. And that's really a thing. It's like, this food made me really happy inside. So I got a good 15 minutes in me. Like, what's up? Like,
Right, but that's the thing about feelings and all that,
yeah.
right? States of being, right? They can fluctuate so much so quick. Yeah, it's just so much. But that's what I was saying even earlier, where, right, we have this assumption of what it should look like. If you're sick, you need to look sick.
Yeah. Like,
Okay.
I need to have bags under my eyes. I need to be like super frail. My hair falling out. Like,
Yeah,
I gotta look crazy. And I'm like, I wear hats and head wraps most of the time. Y'all don't even know what my hair looks like. Like, I got do-rags on and stuff all the time. My hair is falling out. What you talking about? But like, I'm not finna look like that. It's
yeah.
weird. Like, why would you want someone to openly show themselves like that if they don't want to be
One,
seen
two.
like that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if I don't want to be on camera today, then I'm not gonna be on camera today. Like, I talk to you on mute. Like, I mean, talk to the camera off. Like, yeah, then today we should do this, and that. Like, you can't force
Yeah.
people to present themselves to you because you want them to.
I think that's so important, right? To realize preference as well, right? And
Yeah,
everybody's coping different, right?
yeah,
Because part of my coping may be, like you said, I look good, I feel good, I'm showing the fuck up. Like,
yeah.
that is part of how I'm coping. I'm taking care of myself. I'm dressing the fuck up. I'm celebrating life every day, right?
I'm
Just by
changing
my
my hair color
expression.
every
Yes.
15 minutes.
But that could be,
Yeah,
that's real though.
yeah. Like, it's
Yeah.
basically, when it all is said and done, you need to know the person that you are talking to. When it's all said and done, you need to know how they love, how they receive love, how they give love, how they would feel supported, how they would feel like you're doing too much, how, like, it, you need to know their moments of weakness, what that looks like, even if they don't present it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm.
oh, I know this just happened, so let me go and check in, or something like that. And you don't always have to pull up on them. You can just send them a text message or a phone call, but you have to know that person. You have to know their level. Like, how do they receive it? Like, don't call me. You can text me and be like, yo, you good? Absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna text you back. You call me, I'm gonna watch it ring. Even if I'm doing good. Like,
I do
even if
that
I'm
too.
like, even if I'm good, I'm just gonna watch it ring. Like, that's why I text you first. I was like, yo, you up for a
You got space?
conversation? And you got space
Yeah.
and energy for this right now?
Yeah. But I feel like too, a lot of that is like, so human design real quick again. So Bree, we recently found out that Bree is a 6-3 in human design. So the thing about threes, and a 6 will have the same experience as a 3. So right, she has it on both ends. Is that they learn through trial and error. And so a lot of what Bree has said today has been a reflection of her own experience, right? Which is her truth, right? And what she's learned through that process. And that's what I right, that's what Truth Talk is literally about, right? What, like, is a reflection of like the experience we made, the way we shift through these experiences, and who we decide we are throughout that process, right? Or what we shift and change. Like, it's just so much that I feel like just goes back to your lived experience.
Yeah.
Because even what you talk about when you were like, how can somebody be supportive, right? What you're talking about is a lived experience. You already tell us to go read a book, or you know what I mean? And that's what I feel like threes really do value, right? We value a lived experience. Like, we love your knowledge, we happy to
Yeah.
be book smart, but like, there's something about knowing through experience that changes things for us. And as you're talking, one thing I realized too is my own hiccup, right? Like when my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and we found out that like he was like basically that's why we didn't see him, and like when we did ask him to come out, there was always some excuse like I'm working, right? Which he can usually get away with. He's a Capricorn, so when if he says he's working, we're gonna let it go, right? We'll be like, all right, whatever. Or I'm busy, or I'm going out of town, right? Like we'll be like, all right, whatever, sir. Because we know he goes see his other grandkids. But to know that like he just didn't want us to see him like that, right? Like at first it was hurtful. Like it was just like, what do you mean? Like I'm cool as fuck. Like you're not judging you. I'm just gonna have a good time. But then like when I hear you talk, it's a respect thing, right? Like respecting people's choices. Like even if I feel like, well, I'm your daughter, you love me. Like what? I'm a good time. Like, but that does not mean that that man want to see you like that. Like he might just want to be on the phone with you because he did start calling me more. So maybe that was all he needed from me and wanted from me at the time, right? And it's not necessary. It's for me to put my desire aside. And I never pressed him or anything, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that's something for me to be mindful of, right? Like not trying to push my own projections and, oh, well, I would be okay if you saw me, but you don't know that. You ain't going through that. You ain't been through that, right? So don't be so quick. I'm saying it to myself, like,
and you got to think about
respect people's choices.
You got to think about that energy, right? So like someone who is going through something within their body, having someone else's energy in their presence, you have to know whether that's going to hurt or help it, right? And so a lot of people, they're not aligned like that, right? So they don't know, oh, I can't come and I can't be around people today because my energy is low and whatever. It could just manifest itself to people like I'm just not in the mood for people today, and so they felt like they wouldn't be good company or something like that if you were to come over. So talking to you on the phone, then I can still be like laid up in the bed, curled up with a pillow, whatever the case may be, is I'm still giving you what it is that you are requiring, or I'm still getting what it is that I'm requiring, which is my energy to stay here, So that's why I said it's really important to know the person that you're talking to, and that lived experience. Like you have to know, because every day is a learning experience, right? And you get to know and learn somebody more every day the longer you're around them, right? And so if you've been around me for all these years, why would you change, right? Unless I asked you to. So if we've always just communicated through text message, and now I'm telling you, oh, I'm not feeling well, and now you're FaceTiming me, you're calling me, you're pulling up at my house, that's not us. That's not how we do.
Yeah, real
so
shit.
Why are you changing the regimen, So it's like
you know what? I was wondering that about myself. I was like, should I have acted different with my dad when he told me? Like, should I have started like doing more? Because our relationship pretty much stayed the same. Besides him, him wanting to talk more, which I was really happy for him. But cause my dad is not a talker, so he's like more of he's a vibe that comes and goes. Like he's not into all this social shit. I guess.
So that's probably why he wanted to talk to you more, because he felt that his vibe was no longer to that level that it was at anymore. He probably felt like his energy level was low.
Yeah, things definitely. He changed.
And that he wasn't going to be able to give you the same experience that you were used to getting. And so it's like, this is the way that I can give you still more of me. You know what I'm saying? Without.
He's interesting.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but it's interesting, like that whole process, and what what I mean, like what knowing. I don't know, because like we do all know that we're gonna die, but there's just something about, right? Because like I told you, they gave him a date, right? Like I just feel like there's something different about that. When it feels like it's at your door, I think that's what it is. When it feels like it's at your door. But yeah, like now that I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about it more. I'm like, yeah, like I definitely did feel like. One, I did ask questions like, oh, should I change up? Like, should I be doing more? But then I felt like that. I was like, that's fake. Isn't it fake? Like, you know what I mean? I was definitely in my head about it. Because I was
fake.
like, it's self-performative.
Yeah.
So I was really happy when he was just like, nah, we're going to keep rolling. And then it even got better because, like, now he retired, right? Because he was stage 4. So now he had time, girl, to be talking about astrology and love. And I'm like, you know, that's my love language.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
your
like,
love language.
so
Yeah.
our relationship right before his passing just elevated due to, right, like now he has space for other things.
Yeah.
And right, like you said earlier, right, sometimes it could be a blessing because I feel like he, you know, everybody's experience with my dad's different, but for me, I felt like I got a good, unofficial good guy.
Yeah.
So that was literally our last talk. It was about astrology, how he felt so loved, and I was like, yeah. But I definitely wondered that, like, am I that fake as fuck? Did I switch up now? Now it's like, but you just don't
Like
know.
I don't know how other people take it because I'm not them, but you know me. Like I'll be like, why are you here?
Right. I appreciate this because this is so real. Because like I think it goes back to everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like sometimes we try to treat everybody the same, right? Like we start feeling sorry for them, or we feel like we can't stop inviting them to things so much, right? We got to be, like you said earlier, right? Like sometimes people forget that you're sick, right? Or like, so, but then even though they're not coddling you, they also forget. And that can be problematic as well, right? Like
Yeah.
you still want your freedom. You still want to feel like a full human being, but at the same time, like,
Sometimes I need to sit the fuck down.
yeah. Right. And that's about, yeah. I feel like there's so many things like we're saying and not saying as far as like meeting people where they are, right? Like being in a
Mm-hmm.
moment with each other.
Yeah.
But that requires self awareness to some extent too, right? That requires all of us to slow down,
Yeah.
right? So we can read the energy, and just take care of each other. Not just,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, in different ways. So
You have to meet in the middle, you know, like you have to have your wants and needs and put it right here, and that other person wants and needs and you put it right here, and then y'all find out how y'all can meet each
mm,
other's needs and requests together so that no one is feeling left out, like this person is doing more than this person, you know, whatever the case may be. Because whenever that is a mutual understanding and everything comes together like that, it bonds you together more. So like it still gets you to a place to where if something does happen, you already know where y'all standing, right?
mm-hmm.
So you don't have to go above and beyond. You don't have to do extra. You know not to do less, because if you do less, we got a problem. You know, like you already know how to operate. You don't necessarily have to have the conversation
Mm.
because you've already built that together. So it's still gonna be like, you good? Yeah, I'm good. All right, cool. And go about your day, go about continue having the conversations how you have them. You know, you don't have to do so much all the time
Right. Yeah. But that's,
because
yeah.
you might be doing too much, and like if you start doing too much, it's too much for that other person,
But that's what's
and then
so great about this human experience, though, right? Because any too much of anything can be problematic. That's what I love about
yes,
this whole fucking life experience. Because too much niceness can also be an issue, right? Too
yes,
lack of boundaries can be an issue, right? Being a yes person can be. You're right. It
yeah.
can go
It's
either spectrum.
if it's on one side, the other side not gonna like it.
Yeah.
You too happy. You know me. I'm usually like a little far this way. So if you're too happy, what you so happy about? Like, because now you irritate me. Why are you so happy?
I
Like,
can't.
and then if you like way over here, like, dang, you don't want to come to work today? Why you so angry? You know,
That really is you, though. Like legit.
like I just be wanting to know, like, dang, can we just be right here, like this happy
Right.
medium right here, where we just like head nine, keep it moving.
I literally feel like this conversation is a legit reflection of why it's important to be curious. Like myself included, like this is why I feel like these conversations are helping me because I'm also practicing like asking more questions. And because I feel like it's so easy to assume what someone is saying. It's so easy to assume things about people
Yeah,
on so many different levels. I laughed at myself that day when I asked you. I was like, "Yeah, you were supposed to move to LA, and like you play too much, right?" And you was like, "Girl, I came back to Chicago and got diagnosed with cancer." I was like, oh, "You know what I mean?" But that's what the fuck I get, right? Like,
yeah,
and I know,
right,
like for us, like that's okay, right? Like, cause our
yeah,
friendship or whatever, you know, I didn't mean harm, but like.
yeah.
It did get me together though, right? Like, and it's these moments that remind me, like Charlie,
you never know what's happening.
Right,
Like,
but sometimes I need these constant reminders, though. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if most of us do, right? Because at the end of the day, we are here having a human experience for a reason.
right.
And as much as I want to do my best, sometimes, you know.
But also with saying that, right? So I hadn't said anything to anybody about it. The only reason, like you said, you found out from an Instagram post, and it was because I was talking about my hair.
Oh yes, that's exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah, it wasn't like I was like, oh yeah, I found out, or like nothing like that. I was like, y'all don't stop coming to me about what my hair looked like, and then I just put it in there. I was like, for one, I got cancer. For two, I do what I want to do. Like, it's just,
You did say that.
yeah, that was it. And everybody was like, and I was like, oh, I
I
didn't
forgot
tell
you didn't
nobody.
know.
My bad, y'all. It was my DMs lit up. They was like, wait, what? That might have been news to everybody else, but I ain't know. I
Girl,
said,
like
nah.
it really was just like, but that's what I mean. Like, I feel like a lot of times, like because I really do be trying to be mindful when I be talking to people, right? But everybody needs something different. It's kind of like what you were talking about earlier, like reading
Yeah,
the room. Because like I have a very like this is life, bro. Like there's gonna be highs, there's gonna be lows,
exactly.
right? And so like I'm trying not to be like I'm sorry for like what you're going through, and even like oh I don't know, do I need to be sad in order to message you because this sounds like a sad thing, but the world thinks it's a sad thing, and I've been taught it's a sad thing, but is it really a sad thing,
Yeah. And I guess that's why it came out the way that it did, right? Because I was talking shit.
Per usual, we love it. We need it. We need that seasoning. Per usual.
I was talking shit. And so I was like, that would be a typical way that I would tell people, right? Like, I'm not calling everybody and be like, oh, I got cancer. Like, no, I'm finna make some jokes. I'm finna throw something out there.
Wait,
Like,
but I do have a question. When you first were diagnosed, was this a similar response, or
what do you mean?
like in the sense that like you were like, all right, like this is
Yeah.
my experience, and like yeah, okay,
Yeah. I just was like,
right? Because I don't know, right? I assume like people would probably cry or just have a delayed response, of course.
well,
Um,
my whole thing is, right, like,
and crying is not necessarily a negative thing, but
it is for me. If I'm crying, we fighting. Like,
Oh, because you're stuck. Yeah. I cry all the time. So for me, I love crying. I think that is a great way to release energy. But that's neither
no,
here nor there.
I get mad when I cry because I get headaches afterwards, and it's just like,
Mm,
see, this is ghetto. I knew I wasn't supposed to do this. Like,
yeah.
but I guess because like I already was going through something, right?
Mhm.
So it's just like, okay, you just adding on to my plate, like.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like anything that was like, oh my God, pressing or nothing like that to me, because it's not like I was out here all healthy and like, like I was
Mm.
already still battling something. You just added to it. Yeah, you're trying to tell me that my time is less now, but
Limit. Yeah.
they said I wasn't supposed to make it past 25. So every time every time my birthday come up, I always play that Kanye West song. Everybody wasn't supposed to make it past 25. Jokes on you, I'm still alive. So every birthday, I play that song because when I
Mm.
first got diagnosed with lupus is when I was pregnant with my second child, and we both were supposed to die.
Mm.
And we both still out here kicking, like, what's up? So, because, like I said, I spent most of that pregnancy in the hospital because they was trying to figure out what was happening, what was going
Mhm.
on. Like, and then afterwards, it was so bad because after you have a baby, your body already trying to readjust to not having that other life in you and everything else like that. And my body was like, what are we doing? Like,
Mhm.
hold on, Miss Ma'am.
Yeah.
Pump the brakes. Like, this is a lot. So, yeah, it's a process. And so, like I said, you live and you learn, right?
Mm.
You learn. That's the key thing with that. Like, not just live, but also learn. And when I say that, it's like, know that things are going to happen. And in order for anything to change, you have to make an adjustment. that means that you learned from that mistake or you learned from that experience. And so now
Very.
you're going to
Mhm.
adjust into something else. It's not saying that the next time it's going to be better. Well, next time it's going to be perfect, but it might be better because you're
Or
adjusting
yeah,
as you
or at
go
least it'll be
along.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
right.
just
I feel yeah.
because
So unapologetically, me, Mrs. said, nope, still not accepting that diagnosis.
I thought you
I
said you, hold on, hold on. I thought you said you wasn't going to watch. So are you here? I saw you. That's my cousin.
oh,
I
unapologetically me.
Yeah, so I
Oh,
was like, I had posted the live thing, and I was like, are y'all tuning in? And she was like, no.
oh, well, you know what's so interesting? The reason why, and I read it, and I thought too. So there are, especially in the spiritual community. I'm gonna say that Debbie, yeah, I'm gonna say that. So there are actual like people who like when they get diagnosed, like they
Yeah,
don't like to claim it.
yeah,
And I get that too, right? I know specifically I have my own battles with like diagnosis, specifically in mental health because my experiences growing up with my mom and the way she was treated. So I'm very like different when it comes to advocating for it's some anger in there, right? Anger, sadness, all these other
yeah,
things connected to once I rev up about mental health for people. But what was I about to say? But I also learned that those are just diagnoses are just here to help us with symptoms, right? Like they are just like here to really talk about, all right, these clumps of symptoms are this thing, right? And it's
yeah,
like their way of trying to manage these symptoms, right? Like that label is really just about the symptoms. That's how I see it, right? And that may be what I say to myself to give me comfort about diagnosis. But I feel like they just kind of like, help us focus in. If that
yeah.
makes
But
sense.
that's what I was saying. That being diagnosed with something isn't necessarily a bad thing,
Right.
right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Because then you're tailoring, you're moving things around, you're making adjustments that's for the better, to keep you around longer. So it's it's literally just like, hey, we found out something that you can do. Like it's just like
Yeah.
they're giving you the blueprint, right? Like finding out you got diabetes. So now you got the blueprint of what to do, what not to do.
Yeah. And what has helped? So
Yeah, what
yeah.
what helps and what won't help, just help you move through life easier. So you have less time being sick and more time to be healthy and active and doing whatever it is that you need to do. So being diagnosed with something, you end up like you got the
Ooh.
master key. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? And piggybacking over that, we talked about this earlier. So I have a theory about doctors. I have a lot of things to say about doctors because they remind me of attorneys. Like they have these issue checklists of all the things that could be possibly wrong with you. That's
Mm-hmm.
literally what attorneys do. They have these issues, these cause of action that they could possibly sue about, and they just go down the list and they throw everything in there, right? And I feel like doctors do very similar things, and they basically, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Right? So like when they never seen something or seen it expressed a way, it takes a lot longer because they have never seen it according to what they expect it to look like. All right. So I think that's one of the things I want to say. And then the other thing is like me and you talked about this with chemo, right? When you were telling me that like, they have to adjust it, right? Like, um, and I feel like basically doctors are experimenting on you. And
Yeah.
so like I also feel like you should experiment on yourself. I think so deeply about that, right? And that for me means like you also trying different things, right? Like if you knew like you were super stressed before, like maybe you want to slow down in life more, right? Like maybe
Mm-hmm.
you want to officially decide, you know what, I'm not working myself to death no more. Or you want to decide, I'm not working 80 hours no more. Oh, I'm not working, not 80. Yeah, I'm not working 80 hours in 1 week no more. I'm not working, you know what I mean? Whatever it is that you may be doing a lot of in your world that maybe causes stress to your body, your mind, and spiritual, whatever it is, like maybe you want to slow that down. But that may be an experiment you want to take on along with whatever the doctors are recommending, if you want to say yes to that.
Yeah.
But I think that everybody's experimenting because none of us can really say this is going to work. I know that you have research saying it worked, but you can't tell me it's going to work in my body. And that's the
Right.
thing that like I'm not saying don't try it, but that's something I keep in mind, right? Like when we're like judging people's choices or like what they will and won't do, what they aren't doing, it's like you have no idea what they've been through. You have no idea what they experiment with. You have no idea how they've been treated from the medical side of things, because like we got to keep all of this in mind. People are making decisions the way they are for whatever reason, but they have their reason, even if we don't understand it, right? Because we haven't lived their lives. But yeah, when you were saying that earlier about like how they even have to mess with, because I didn't even know that they got to adjust that. I'm just like, that goes back to, and I'm not saying any of this is wrong, but it's just a reality. Like, this is all, we're all experimenting. None of us really have a blueprint. We just have things that have worked and we try them out.
Yeah. I don't know. No, oh, that's when we was on the phone talking. Okay. So what she's talking about is when I got diagnosed back in the gap, because this is not my first time getting diagnosed with breast cancer. So I decided to do the chemotherapy, and I was telling Charlie that like you end up getting worse before you get better, because they have to figure out what dosage works for you, right? Like whether or not, you know, this much is enough, or do you need to do this much? Oh, that's not enough, so you need to do this much. Like they just sit here and they play with the levels of different, and chemotherapy is not it's not one drug, right? It's multiple drugs
Or the
put into
concoction.
one thing. It's a concoction, so they have to figure out what is working, what isn't working. And so you're really fluctuating. You're going through so many different things because so much is being put into your body. And they're like, okay, so was it this one that didn't work? Or was it this one? Was it too much of this? All right, let's try to bring that down. Because now you got to get your blood drawn after each time. So then they look at your blood and they're like, oh, we see this much of this drug in there, but not enough of this drug. So they put more of this drug in there and take less of this drug. And so like they're literally like when they say you're a patient, like they mean it. It's patient zero, you know, like you're really going through your patient zero.
That's real.
You are going through, and it's like chemo works for some, right? But every patient is patient zero, because no one is getting the same concoction. No one is getting the same amount of everything. And so you are the first one. You're going to be the first and the only probably that's going to have that dosage, that amount of treatments, that, you know, how long it is that it takes for them. Because sometimes they're like, oh, you can come in 30 minutes, and in 30 minutes, we're going to put all this in you and you can go on back home. Sometimes it's like, oh, we're going to need you for 2 hours. We got to do a slow drip. You know, it's different. It just depends, you know. So everyone is patient zero. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. You know, that choice is for whoever makes that choice. I don't knock anybody's choices. It's just that I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah. You know, I was curious about that. I swear, like our conversation is going so low, but you know, I feel like all this important. But I'm gonna just have to like break it up. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Like, but that was another thing, right? Like you said, like you're not gonna do it, and I kind of like mentioned this earlier, but I was like, wait, let me ask when we live, because like, you know how I feel about mothers, right? I feel like the world, specifically United States, so I'm gonna speak to that, and I'm gonna speak to New York City, because I feel like that's where I have my experience with like child welfare and things like that, right? In a sense that I feel like the world can be very unforgiving to parents, and specifically to mothers, right? You have an expectation of, you need to be obsessed with those kids. You need to do whatever it takes to be with those kids. You need to do whatever it takes to, you know what I mean, have those kids in your custody. I don't care what you're going through. Those kids need to be with you, period, right? And that's what I've heard on different levels, right? And not just from my own experience. Even as I got older, I saw friends go through it and family. So I know it hasn't stopped, you know? And so I guess I'm curious as to, did you have anyone make mention of that when it comes to like you deciding not to do chemo?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, and my whole thing is, I don't care. Like, like, because it's in like, I don't care. That's y'all opinions, right? That's a thing. Again, you projecting what you want for me instead of thinking of me, right? So if I'm deciding not to do that and I'm deciding to be happy and to be present and to, you know, have these moments that I'm having with my
Enjoy
children
these babies,
now
yes.
and enjoying them now and like taking them on different experiences and things like that now, then that's what I'm going to do now.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's say I did do it, right? And then getting the phone call. So
Yeah, I forgot to
let's
set
say,
my phone on mute. I'm like, you know what I mean? That
yeah,
do not
I was
disturb
like,
thing.
yeah, I forgot.
Okay.
So let's say that call right back. I'm busy. Duh.
That's it. I'm busy, duh.
So let's say that I did do chemo, right? And that I went through the whole process, and so now I'm brittle. I can barely be outside because sunlight, direct sunlight, affects you when you have chemo, when you're going through chemo, because you're already getting radiated. Um, so like, let's say that I'm doing all this that I'm supposed to do, and then I still end up passing. So what time did I get to spend with them to enjoy them and then for them to enjoy me, right? Like, I'm not living for the moment, I'm living. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not doing anything extra besides, you know, taking more trips. I'm still just living. I'm doing the things that I've always wanted to do. I'm not acting like this is the end of days. I'm not treating any of this like, oh my God, I got to get this done. This is on my bucket list, you know, anything like that. Basically, things have just been falling into my lap right now.
It literally sounds like a surrendering. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
a flow and a surrender. It's so interesting.
Like everything is literally falling into my lap right now. And I'm here for all of it. Like, what do I look like? Like, anything that I can imagine. Well, almost anything. Because if you can send me some coins,
Yo, I can't even hold you to my dad ass. I'm like, bro. Now that you on the other side, come the fuck.
you want to send me some coins.
I believe in energy like crazy, so I'm like,
like everything falling into my lap, but can we get some money in there?
Right, the trips might come a little faster. Okay?
Yeah,
We might get a little extra.
let me get some a little extra, but it was just me stop. I'm not afraid to do things anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, what if I don't have enough money? What if I can't pay this bill? If I go do this, then will I have enough of this? You know, things like that. But I do have a support system that'll be like, damn it, here go $100. Get your ass back home. You know, or something like that. You know, so like I might spend my last dollar, but guess what? My experience that I got to have.
Girl, you know, listen, I think we come from a different time, so I get everything you're saying. Like, I feel all of it.
Like, damn, I got $25 in my account right now. Whew, thank goodness I get paid tomorrow. Like, that type thing. Like, it's like I got it down to a T. Like,
but it goes down to your values, though, too.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like all these choices go down to your values. Like, I've noticed that more and more, and that's why, too, I respect people's choices. Because I had to realize what I value, other people might not. You know what I mean? And that's just real, and that's okay.
I value flights. I value nice things. But you know, I love sneakers and hats. That's always been a thing, right? I actually stopped getting those so that I can be on flights and traveling and doing all those things because I was like,
do you still have your collection the way you had it, like as many, or do you like sell them?
No, I still have them. They're in the storage. It's like 300 pair. Yeah, they're in the storage, and I was like, all right, well, that's like $200, right, for a pair of shoes. I get a flight for $200. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, I adjusted. I my focus,
Yeah, you
you
definitely
know?
value experiences. And you, even
Yeah,
in our conversation earlier, we were like joking about like alcohol or like an
yeah,
experience. And we was like, yeah, fuck the experience it is, right? Like,
yeah,
not that you got to choose, but like if you had to, right? Like, or
yeah.
whatever other thing that you enjoy, great food, right? Whatever. Sometimes, like, well, food is an experience, but if you ask me.
Food is
So,
absolutely an experience, and that's part of the
yeah.
reason why I like to travel. I like to try different foods. I
I
like
was
to,
going to ask that too. That was going to be
yeah.
your warmer question.
So yeah, I
Like, what's
love
your
to
favorite?
try.
Yeah,
I love to try different foods, and I like to get them from there.
the place. Hmm.
Yeah, so it's
The
like like
authenticity.
ain't no way to shape shift this because I got it from you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, yeah, I love that experience of eating what is culturally available there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I like that, and I like to experience different things. Like, I love to see, people running around barefoot, just enjoying their lives and, like just living things up. And I'm not talking about in a poverty way. I'm talking about like that's just their culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not they're not poor in any way, shape, or form. It's just part of their culture. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
shoes for what? We going to work? Like like they're not dressed up. They're, just
I know,
enjoying
right?
themselves and living life. They're not worried about what the
Mm.
shoes look like. They're not worried about the
No.
clothes. They're just out there having fun, laughing, and they don't care who you are, where you come from, like just that energy. All the places that I've gone to, the energy is very much so family. Like it's very much so
Mm.
like when most of the places I go to, they're like family, and I'm like,
Mm.
like,
Yeah, I
hi.
feel like I want to go to India soon because like there was this I went to a store recently, like a discount store. I know it's so random, but like as soon as I walked in, the man that was there, he was like, "Sister," and like I'm used to that in New York, especially from people who are African. Like they
Yeah.
say that all day, right? Like everybody's sister and brother. But this was an Indian man. He was just like so sweet. He was like, "God bless you," and I was like, "Sir, first of all, where did you come from? Because you are not usually in the store." Second, first I was like, "Thank you for your energy." That's what I always say. And then it's like, "Where did you come from?" Right? Like in
Yeah.
a sense that like, are you gonna be here long? Not like where you come from, literally, but
Yeah.
like who hired you and how long they hired you for? Because I need to come around while you here. But he was
Exactly.
like telling me that he came from India, but he's leaving. Like literally, he was just telling me. He was like, "Oh well, thank you so much," and just like giving me saying blessings, blessings, blessings. And I was like, "All right, I'm going to India because everybody's calling me brother and sister. I want to know what it means there. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because
Yeah.
people say it, but like, what does it mean there? So I want to know what that culture. I'm very open like to it. And I'm really excited. So the other day officially India is on my list.
Yeah, because you
So
know how I told you I'm standoffish. I'm standing in the back and I'm gonna look around at everybody before I, present myself to anybody. When I am in other countries, I feel less stressed. I feel
mm,
less of a need to check the scenery. Like, of course, I still do it, but
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's just not like
I feel yeah.
it's not a pressure. It's not like
Yep. The
oh,
pressure is yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
It's more like, oh, what's going on in here instead of like what's going on in here. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of thing.
Yeah. I totally agree. Like I felt that even leaving New York, like when I was younger and going to Texas, like I just felt like it asked something different of me. Like not that it was more safe, but it wasn't that same thing like New York. Where I felt like I was always on guard. Right? You got to be
Yeah.
on guard with your purse. You got to be on guard at your family house. You got to be on guard on a train. You got to be on guard at work. Like it was constantly
Yeah.
like I constantly had to protect myself, and it's like, what the fuck? That's a lot. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? On top of everything else, and like, I'm not saying like it's less now, but like I don't have those same fears anymore, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
just like, right after living in other places and going to other countries and seeing that like, we're conditioned like that here in New York, specifically me because of the way I was raised, right, and how I was raised and who I was raised by, right.
Yeah.
So those needs to be on high alert, aka anxiety, crazy, or anxious, right? Anxious style I had, yeah, like it's a reflection of that. And I think that like what you're talking about as far as going to other cultures, Truth Talks is also about like the fact that I read this book. I think it's called like Whole Person. It's something about whole something. I'll probably post it on my stories, but the book basically talks about like we're all conditioned to of what it is to be human, right? And
Yeah.
this is basically someone living in the United States, and they're just like explaining to us like other countries aren't like this, right? Which gives us the opportunity to be like, I don't have to live this way, right? Like I don't have to live and be a human the way you say I have to, right? So if I don't want to do my hair, or if I don't want to wear makeup, or if I don't want to be this or be that, I don't have to. If I want to be without my shoes, like that gets to be okay. If I want to eat with my hands, that gets to be okay, right? Even if it's
Right.
not the norm here.
Right.
That doesn't mean I'm less of a human or that, right? I just want to be, I want to be human and reflect the way that, you know, my godly energy wants to do it.
Yeah. I
But
agree.
yeah, that's how I feel about that too. Like, I feel like we're taught how to be human. And then when we go to other cultures, it doesn't look like this. So it's like, do I have to do it the way I've always been told? And then you get to adopt other ways of being.
Yeah. Because people tell me all the time, like, you different, right? Like, and I'm like, because I've seen different things, you know what I'm saying? Like, from growing up, from being in the military, from the relationships, from traveling, seeing different things. Like, you turn into it, you create a different version of yourself with each thing that you
You
go through,
constantly
right?
expand and get
Yes.
to know another
Yeah.
aspect of you. How crazy is
Yeah.
that?
And I'm like, you want to sit here in the same bubble and be the same person all the time. That's fine. You can do that. Me, myself, I feel like I can't be true self if I don't continue to evolve and elevate. So part of my travels is because of that. Like, I like to see different things. Like, do I try? Like, everybody's like, oh, well, you travel by yourself? Yeah, I do travel by myself sometimes. Or my brother is with me, but um, I'm not afraid. Like, I don't have that fear of something is going to happen to me. Like, I'm, am I always aware? Yes, I am always aware that something can happen. But it's not like I'm running around here like lottie dottie. But it's just like, you know, I'm not gonna let fear stop me from going anywhere. Like people that have fear of flying, so they've never left wherever it is that they're at. I can't do that. Like, I would suffocate literally. So it's like, and I'm not driving 100,000 hours and taking ferries and all this other stuff to get where I need to get to. So it's just, I don't. Basically, I'm free. Basically, I'm free, and so
Yeah,
like
you
I'm not.
literally are. So the fact that
Yeah,
you know that, I
yeah,
think is because I think that a lot of us don't know that we're free, right? Like we
yeah,
don't, right? Like we can give ourselves that kind of permission
yeah.
to
Like
decide, like you know,
I
I don't
give
want none of this
myself,
shit.
I give myself permission to be free. I give myself permission to do whatever the fuck it is that I want to do,
Yeah,
because I'm the only one I got to answer to.
and you're the only one that actually like real deal with the consequences. Like people are
Yeah,
also affected, like as a I'm trying
like
to
on
think
the
of what I
back
use
end.
here.
Yeah, like on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
back. Like,
yeah. You know what I
yeah,
mean? As a consequence, like you know what I mean
yeah,
on the side, but like at the end of the day, like you really have to live. You really have to live with
yeah.
those choices, right?
Like, I'm the one that has to deal with that. Like, so do I fuck up? Yeah, of course. But that's not gonna stop me from doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, failure is part of the progress.
Yeah, well, you're a like I said, you're 6'3". Like literally, like your personality is meant to learn by doing, and there's no failure. There's only like discoveries, right? Like that's kind of like what they say. Like, and I feel like for me, like that has been my experience. Like I don't think I've ever nothing that has ever not went the way it was specifically planned has ever been horrible. You know what I mean? Like I've always learned something, realized
Yeah,
something, or I realized that I wanted things that I didn't really right. I realized like, oh, I thought I wanted that and I actually don't. Right? You know what I mean? Like you get
yeah,
all these moments to like pause and reflect, or like because I think sometimes those no's are really moments where why are you even doing this?
yep.
Why did you even want that? Right? And then I realized like, oh shit, you're right. Like I didn't even want that.
I
Like why
didn't
was
even
I
want
chasing
that.
that?
Why did I do that?
Yeah. So
Or it's like, yeah, I had that and that wasn't
is
it.
it hard? But you should try things.
Yeah,
And that's what I was saying earlier. Like even like you know whatever choices you make, like one thing it sounds like you've tried their way, you tried it other people's way, and like now you get to do it your way. I mean, you've always been doing it your way because you've been saying yes, but or just choosing
Yeah.
for yourself. But
Yeah, like, and before it was like, well, I'm gonna do this part for me, but I'm gonna do the rest of it for
mm-hmm.
y'all. Now I'm like, nah.
That's
Like,
real. I feel like that's real, that's deep, and it's brave, right? And I know like people might be like that. It takes a lot of courage to like be yourself in a space where other people are acting for the total opposite, right? They ask you like be yourself, but then when you do it, it's like, well, not like that. Do this instead, and it's like, well, that's not
yeah,
me. Like that's the personality trait you want me to have that I don't want to
that
entertain.
I do not
Yeah, and I have
have it, and I
yeah,
never said that I had it, so I don't even know why we're here right now.
but yeah, but that's yeah.
Yeah,
So many things. All right,
so many
girl, it's
things.
literally almost 10 my time. Like,
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
you
Wait, but
know, we can talk forever.
I know. I feel so like this is a long ass life, but I'm also like, it is what it is. But I was also gonna, because you were gonna tell us about like you gave us things for people to support
Mhm.
already, and then you were gonna talk towards those who may have, I guess, been diagnosed or maybe like recently diagnosed or going through the
Yeah,
process. Who knows?
yeah. So for those people, basically, take from this to do what's best for you, not what's best for other people. Because, like we've been saying this whole time, or like Charlie just said, you're going to be the one that has to deal with whatever happens.
Mm-hmm.
So you're the one whose body is currently going through something. You're the ones whose mind is currently going through something. You are the one who needs the help and the love and the support. So when it comes to that, stay focused on that and not necessarily other people and like what's gonna make them happy and what's gonna be best for them, because
Mm-hmm.
that's not gonna help you at the end of the day. Those people need to be helping and supporting you in the way that you need them to support you, not you trying to support them. Oh God, and that, oh, that just made me think about it. So a lot of the times we don't want to tell people that we got diagnosed with something, because then we have to deal with how they feel about it.
And then you gotta take care of them. Like you gotta take
Yeah.
care of us.
So then then we have to be like, no, it's okay, calm down. Now we're here sitting here catering to your feelings and your emotions. Well, we're the one that's going through it. You just suddenly had this emotional moment where you want to be like, oh my God, the world is ending, but we're the one that has to actually do it. And so now, not only do we have to sit here and body this, right? Body this emotion that we're having, because I told you, because I'm going through something,
Mm-hmm.
and I told you because I wanted you to know and to possibly help me go through this.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm taking care of you instead of
Mm-hmm.
you helping to take care of me.
Yeah.
And now I don't even know if I can tell you whenever something is going on, because are you going to have another moment like this? If I'm like,
And it
oh,
adds, yeah.
yeah, oh, I'm having a flare up. Can I call and can I tell you about it? Or are you now like, oh my God, this is so terrible, and now I'm taking care of you again. So like, that is hard for a lot of people to do, because the moment, y'all, they take the moment. You take the moment, and it's
Mm,
crazy. Like, someone telling you that something is wrong with them is not for you. It's not your
mm.
moment. This is not your show. You are not the main character. Like, please stop that. Like, that is the, like,
I'll
that is
make
the,
that a clip. But it happens. It happens very
yeah,
often. And I never understand if you're just triggered and it makes you cry. Like,
yeah.
um,
Like, it's
yeah.
okay to be like, to feel for that person,
Mm,
but to take that moment. And that's what
yeah.
most people do. They take that moment. It's like, oh my God, I got diagnosed with cancer. And it's like, oh my God. Oh, we were supposed to
Mm,
go on a trip. Like, now it's all about you. And it's like, you got cancer, or I got cancer. Like, who, who's sad right now? So now I
yeah.
can't even cry because you crying. Like, I can't even process through my stuff because I
Yeah.
gotta help you process through it. Like, it's It's weird.
That's why it's frustrating. Yeah, it does add a layer to it. Yeah.
But yes, back to it. Make sure y'all maintain your own emotional, physical, and mental well-being for yourself, not for everybody else. Because as much as you are going to want to help and support all those other people, you need to help and support yourself first and foremost. Get all of your feelings and everything in alignment before you can try with other people, because it's going to test you, it's going to try you, and you might end up in a depression trying to help these other people process and understand certain things. Also, advocate for yourself. Advocate for yourself. Advocate for yourself, because no one else is going to do it. If you feel like the medication that they gave you is not working, tell them. If you feel like it is causing you harm instead of doing you any better, tell them. If you feel like it's making you loopy and it's not supposed to make you loopy, tell them. Like, if you feel like you're not getting better in any way, shape, you need to tell these people that you are not feeling better, you're not doing better, that the medication is not working, and tell them to try something different. And if they try to push back on you, you push back at them, because this is your life, your health. Fuck them people. But seriously though, like, because you have to do it, no one else is going to do it for you. And when it comes to working while you have an illness, you don't have to give them a single document. If it does not say it in your state or law guidelines that you have to do that, because that is a HIPAA violation. You do not
I
have to give
definitely
them.
want to know your rights. Yeah.
Yes, know your rights, because it's a HIPAA violation for you to, well, if you share it with them, then that's different. But if they're requesting it, you can't, like, they don't actually have the right to do that. So know your law and state information, because they tell you, oh, you gotta bring me a doctor's note. No, you don't. Like,
Yeah, and
like,
just because the employer's policies say
yeah,
what they say, right? They do not outweigh the actual, written laws in the
yeah, the
court. So
written laws.
that's why I think it's important for. I know this is an added layer, but I think
Yeah,
that's why it's important for you to just know your rights. I think that, like, because employers don't always know,
they
so they
don't.
can be violating and not, but that's not your business whether or
Yeah,
not they know about
that's,
it, right? I'm
yeah,
not giving you, that's not your business. But I know your rights, because people might not tell you. The employer
yeah.
might not tell you. So just know your rights.
And that's why I'm telling you, because you don't have to give them people a single thing. You do not have to tell them that you got diagnosed with anything. You do not have to do that. You can just, so there's a layer between HR and healthcare that you have with your company, if you have it. They talk to each other. You don't have to tell them anything. So your healthcare is gonna be like, oh, we have to do this X, Y, and Z for coverage over here. HR is going to be like, okay, well, because, they have to do the fundings or whatever for it. They talk to each other. You don't have to tell them anything.
Well, to some extent, right.
Well, I mean,
Unless
like,
not, right, unless
to a little bit of an
legal
extent,
stuff.
yes.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
like I'm saying, you don't have to be like, oh, I was sick yesterday, I couldn't come in.
Right.
They're like, oh, give me a doctor's note because you were sick yesterday. And it's like, no, I got a pre-existing condition. I don't have to give you a doctor's note. Just know that I was sick. Talk to
Yeah.
HR. And that's what you do. Talk to HR. Like,
Right.
you don't have
Yeah,
to
because
do
like
that.
once they on notice, that's it, right? Like all the
Yeah.
extra stuff, whatever the
Yeah.
reasonable accommodation or whatever the situation is, like that's what they do have. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
So,
Yeah, but
yeah.
just look it up, get
Yeah. Look up
familiar
your
with details.
stuff.
I don't know everything about that, but
Yeah.
I do know because I just actually watched a video about employment law. So it's like fresh, literally before this live, because I'm working on my CLEs. So it's fresh in my mind. That's why I was able to say that. Like, yes, look it up, look it up, look it up. Know you're right.
Yeah. And as a whole, just to wrap this up, do what's best for you. Like, whatever feels good for you, whatever feels good in your energy, whatever feels good for your soul, your body, your mind, do that, because this is your life that is being lived. This is your life that is being adjusted now because you were diagnosed with something. And this, I'm only saying it's being adjusted because, like we just said, they gave you a list of things.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got the blueprint, and you can go ahead and,
Yeah.
tailor your life to a better way that's going to help you out. So do that, but do not, sitting in it is not going to help you live more. It's not going to help you to overcome anything. It's not going to help you be a better person for anybody around you. So sitting in that is not conducive for anyone.
Yeah.
Yes, have your moment to process, but don't sit in it. Process and then evolve, develop, whatever it is that you need to do, because sitting in it is not going to help you. You have to process through it, because if they're asking you to do additional things, you need to be thinking through those things that they're asking you to do to see if that's going to align with you. Like if that's something that you're willing to do, like if you want to do that, because sometimes the things that they're asking you to do, it's a hard pass. So no, don't want to do that. And don't force yourself to do it just because other people do.
Yeah.
Know and understand you and your body, because that's very important. Focus on self. If nothing else. If you don't get nothing else,
and if
focus
people
on
call
self.
you selfish, selfish is not a negative thing. So
it's not. It's you're thinking
I believe
about
in
you.
wise selfishness for sure. Like,
yeah. And people that call you selfish when you're thinking about the things that are better suited for yourself and in your physical state, who's being selfish?
Yeah.
Who's the actual selfish
one?
But
But you know how it is, right? It's so easy for people to start projecting, you know what I mean? And then you start questioning your own self, like, am I doing this? Am I wrong for this? It depends on what kind of system you have around you, what kind of support system, right? Because even if people are saying those negative, or what kind of personality you have a very, you're used to people saying no to what you actually want to do, right? Like, we went through life being rebels, right? So, or being conscious disruptors, or just disruptors of what a norm should be like, right? And so, people rejecting us may not hit like someone who's used to people pleasing, right? Like, that is a whole different experience. But yeah, practice. Practice saying no. That's my theory for everything. Practice saying no. It will be uncomfortable at first, but you know what? It gets easier to bear. Ooh. So whatever feeling you get from it gets easier to bear. Like, at some point, it probably won't even bother you.
I was just saying, then it's not even going to bother you no more. And then people will stop asking certain things of you because you've already set your boundaries. So say no. Say no often.
Yeah,
say no and say no
I'm
often.
so mad at us for being on this call for 3 hours and just
like. Okay. I know we need to go.
No, what else? But is there anything else? I feel like you said that, and then is there anything else? And before we wrap up, I do have one question. I always have like a wrap up question.
Okay, what's your question? Because I don't think I have.
All right, you done? All right, so y'all heard from Bree, and if you want to follow her, her page, and it'll also be linked in the caption. All right. So
don't look for stuff on my actual page. Go to my stories.
Oh yes, she do TikTok on her stories. I talked that earlier. That's where all the posts are actually. Yeah. It's so interesting. Anytime you post on your feed, I'd be like, what is this? Because it's just like you and my sister. I have like a younger sister, and she does not post on her feed, but like her stories be lit. And I'm like, this is where the party at.
Yeah, go to the stories. That's where we at.
Yes. Hold on. I don't know. Both of these are good. Okay. I'm going to try this one, right? So what lesson or aha moment or maybe a belief you've adopted this calendar year in 2022? So is there something like you had an aha moment about, or belief you shifted, or lesson you learned that you feel like was a game changer to this whole life, this earthly thing?
My sexual preference.
That's fun.
Yeah, so like I've always been bisexual, but like I learned that I'm more so a pansexual, because I don't care about what's in between your legs or what any of that additional things. I was like, because if I can't connect with you here, nothing else is going to happen. So yeah, I've found myself being attracted to like like somebody just be talking. I'm like, oh, that is so sexy. What's up? Like, don't even know nothing about this person, but just their energy attracted me
The
to them.
vibe, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm just like, okay, what's up? Like, hey, like
Yeah.
that's what I learned. I learned that I was putting myself in a box to only look at here or there,
Yeah, I consider
but
myself queer now because of that.
yeah, but not to like, I was never like completely open to myself. It's the whole dating scene out here. It's ghetto, but dating
Okay.
is. I'm just saying, dating is
It's
ghetto.
a, you know, I think I've been posting about. I was having a great time. I'm on pause right now, but I was having a great time, and not that it was like. I guess it was successful in the sense that like I got to know humans, right? And you know,
Yeah,
I'm obsessed with human. I'm obsessed with relationships. I'm obsessed with humans in relationships and how it affects us. I love it. I think it's hilarious, and also I know it's shitty, but I
yeah.
still think it's
They
fun.
they be irking my spirit. So I need to meet people in person, not online. Like I need to meet them face to face and not through like social media or through apps and
Mm.
things like that. Because then I'll be able to know instantly, like, nope, not gonna work next. you
I mean
know?
that works too, but well, I guess they go. I mean, you're assertive enough, so you could do that. Because the other thing I'm thinking too, you don't really like people, right? So like that's the other layer of it. But I do feel like even people who don't like people, because I say that I love people, but the like get questionable. Um, so yeah, but I feel like even with that theory, it goes back to like I feel like I observe people, and that's probably why I'm usually the pursuer in person. Cause like
Yeah.
people watch for a while before I would like say something or start flirting with the person.
Yeah. I mean, I might give a little eye or something, but I don't pursue. That's, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I
I
need you to
definitely would
come.
shoot my shot.
I need you to come to me. Unless I'm like, all right, you taking too long. Like, I probably had a couple drinks or something. I'm like, yo, what's up? Like, what,
Yeah, yeah. So
what are
I
you
feel like
doing?
yeah, for me that's like something that's over time, right? Like if I know I'm gonna see you often, that's usually
Mhm.
how that goes, right? Like I'll watch you for a while. I'll be like, all right, I'm feeling you. I like that you're like you're not paying me attention. Because I like people who are not available to everybody.
Yeah.
And if you act like you don't care, I'm like, oh, you don't care. Let's see. So yeah, it's just fun. I think I just love that whole experience. It's funny thinking about it now. I'm like, yeah, I'm like that with yeah, and I don't discriminate between genders or label. Like
Yeah.
everybody can. I will shoot my
Everybody can
shot.
get it.
Everybody can
Everybody
get
can get
it.
it.
I will shoot my shot. Period. If I really want to. I
Yeah.
don't really live in that world of well,
I've
if I'm
I've
interested in you,
become
why the fuck wouldn't I go to you?
I've become a little bit more assertive with it because like I feel like the people that be coming to me,
You need to start doing the choosing.
yeah. So I'm like, I need to go and do the choosing because the people
But
choosing me is a no.
so on
Like,
apps, people choose me. I don't initiate conversations usually on apps, but in you know what? I'm just having an aha moment. Because I do the choosing in person. Yeah.
hmm.
I think for the most part, not always, but I think for the most part, I would say I am like a pursuer. Um, yeah, and a lot of that has to do. I feel like I do it because I feel like people have this idea of who I am, and
Yeah.
they don't pursue me because of that. And so I like lighten up the mood, and I will initiate it. I won't continue it, but I will initiate it. I will let you know I'm interested, and then you can do what you want with that.
Yeah, that's what I do. I'd be like, okay, and then like see what you do from there. Like,
Mm, yeah, yeah. I just invite. I'm like, you
yeah,
seem like you're interested in me, so let me go.
right. Like if I'm sitting at the bar by myself and like somebody comes sit next to me, I might look over and be like, and then I'm gonna wait a little bit, see if you're gonna say anything to me. I'm like, why you sitting way over there? Come here. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Come
Yo,
sit
I
closer
feel
to
like
me.
this. Yeah, I feel like this conversation is legit, like living life, right? Like we talk about
Yeah,
everything, especially where we are in
everything.
our lives with dating and everything. I was like, yeah, this is really it. this is where our journey is. Like dating, traveling, career. Cause we got to pay bills.
Yeah.
Um,
I
whatever that
mean,
looks like. Yeah. So
if I could get paid just for being alive, that'd be great.
I'm still waiting for that. I feel like one of these generations have to do that. Like,
Yeah.
I really do feel like we should be taken care of, and we should just be creating things.
Yeah. I definitely, because when I say that, people be like thinking that I'm playing. I'm like, no, I really do think that I should be paid for being alive. Like,
But it does sound crazy in the USA, right? To say
yeah,
that, right? People think we're like all these things, and I'm like, listen, I should get paid for being. Is that not enough? I'm here. I'm
like
excited. And I'm excited. What?
right, like I'm dope as fuck. Like, why you not paying me? You know how much doper I would be if
If
you
you were
paid
taking
me?
care of my finance, yes. I would have so much more space to be
I would be
greater.
doing so many things. Like, do you know how much I would be creating if
Right.
you paid?
Imagine what else I'm capable of. Okay.
Right. Like, I can do all things through me if you pay me.
They should do it. They should do a test run on this. Get a group of us together and just do a test run for the next 100 years.
Yeah,
I'm signing up.
I don't have no problem being a beta tester. What's up? Like,
Right, billionaires, hear us out. Get together.
hey yo,
Do a study. Listen, y'all do a study. Do a study.
Look, we gotta speak it up again. Hey, do you hear me?
I feel like that's like part of me when I'm doing when I'm vibing on shrooms, right? Like talking up instead of like.
I do. I'll be like,
Don't know where the energy's at, but I literally always look up when I'm talking to them. I'll be like, girl.
or when somebody say something crazy and you look off like you're looking into a side camera, like it's the camera right here, recording you, even though the conversation happening right here.
Yeah.
You're like,
Right. It's like that screen where it's like, where Lisa Ray is like kind of rapping in the bathroom, right? Like you have to.
Yeah,
we gotta freeze this, right? We gotta freeze this moment, okay? What the fuck is this? Before I come back here. What the fuck is that?
What the fuck is that? Yeah.
And now you can join back the conversation. But yeah.
What was the other question? Because I think I want to answer it.
Oh, the other question is, if you could tell some past version of yourself anything, what would you say?
Oh. If I could tell a past version of myself something, I would say, do not lose yourself. Because a bitch lost herself for a while. And I would tell her, do not do that. Because I was told that by multiple people. Do not lose yourself. Just because you are a mother and you are a wife now, do not lose yourself. It was like, don't do it. Don't lose yourself. And it was like the older people on his side were telling me not to lose myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever, what are you talking about?
I love when we have that response, and then life really does help us.
Yeah. I was like, lose myself? Why would I lose myself? Look at me. Where am I going? And she left.
Girl, I like I said, living that 3 line, I know that lesson. When you think it's impossible, life will literally be like, all right, but let me just show you.
Look, smack you up real quick.
Yeah, let me just show you, right? Just so. But I feel like, would you have known what that even looked like or felt like had you not experienced it? And did you know when they were saying it? Did you know like what that could even look like?
No, but I tell everybody this. I am super appreciative of that part of my life, that wife and mother part of my life, right? Because I did not know that I could be this dope. But I only found out because of that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
fuck around and found out.
I fucked around and found out. Yeah, beforehand, I was a rebel, out here doing whatever it was I wanted to do. I got sat down for a little bit, and then I was able to come back out. And when I popped back out, I'm like, finally, because I healed in so many different ways after that. After coming out of that phase of my life, I healed in so many different ways that I didn't even know I needed healing from. So
But
Like,
that's the shit though.
yeah,
That's the thing, right? A lot of these times, well, that's the shit. How would you know? That's what I
exactly.
always say to a lot of things. Like, it's like what you said earlier, right? Without that diagnosis can be a blessing, right? But
Yeah.
again, that goes into perspectives too. But like your belief of what this all means. But yeah.
Yeah, if it wouldn't have been for me going through all that with him, I I would not know what true happiness looks like now.
Mm.
I would not know what living as my true self looked like.
Mm.
Because beforehand, yeah, I was cool and everything, but I was not self-aware
Mm-hmm.
then. You know what I'm saying? And then got into that situation to where I was muted, literally couldn't wear what I wanted to wear, like watch what I wanted to watch, read what I wanted to
Right.
read, like, was literally just secluded to a certain spot. And once I got out of that and got to realize what freedom looked like,
Mm-hmm.
my mind, my body, and my spirit all got healed. So
Mm.
it's just like when they talk about, oh yeah, cancer, da da da. I'm like, not over here. What you talking about? Like, okay, whatever, fine. I hear you, but like that's not gonna stop me.
Yeah.
So, like, do I have down days? Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But like, they're just a couple days here and there. Might be a week, but I don't have spells of it. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like, um, and if
Or
I
just
do,
like this, you know what I mean? Because like sometimes it
yeah.
could just be this cloud over your existence.
And then when
Existing.
it's like that, because sometimes it do just be a cloud. I just be laying in the bed and I'm like, dang, I've been in this bed for 2 days. Bitch, get up. Like, get up. Like, what are you doing? Go outside. Like,
I
do
was curious about that
something.
too. Like, would you ever like, even though like, because I feel like that about anxiety and depression, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to just say yes to it, right, and to just stay isolated and all these things. But especially when I was right, I'm still grieving, but during my early grieving phase, I realized I started isolating myself. I
Yeah.
literally had to make myself go see my friends, and then when I did, or when I allowed people to come to me, because that was another thing, I was just like, no, 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 right? Because I'm always by myself.
Yeah.
I'm not used to nobody asks what the fuck you want to come over now for? Like, you know what I mean? That's right, kind of like what you
Yeah.
said earlier.
Yeah.
But honestly, it really helped.
Yeah.
When somebody just popped up at my house, like I was so shocked. I was like, and then I learned in that moment that, sometimes I got to do things even when I don't want to. If it's possible, it would actually help me move forward, right? Get out of that stagnant energy.
Yeah.
Um,
And I do that to myself sometimes.
that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
I'm like,
Mm.
it's been 3 days. You at least gotta go further than the bathroom, cause
Yeah. At least try, right? Like,
yeah,
yeah, this is
like go sit on the couch and watch TV instead of laying in the bed. Like
mm,
uh, something like that, or
yeah, that's how I
try and
feel.
try and fix yourself a meal, like something like.
Yeah,
I
I
might
feel
have to
this.
sit down while I'm doing it or like take breaks or something because like I'm feeling that weak, but I will still be like, no, we're gonna do this. And then afterwards, after I do it, then I'm like feeling better or like
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, if I could make myself a meal, because I don't just like do no little shit. Like if I'm like, bitch, you gonna eat. So like if I can make myself this meal and clean up this kitchen, then I can go outside. Like I can go drive around the corner to the store. I
Hmm.
can walk around in the store for a little bit, even if
But
I'm
like
not
baby
buying.
step, right,
Yeah,
right.
like baby
Okay.
steps. Yeah, like then I can go do that. Like I might not go buy nothing, but it's just like going and walking through the store
The
because
process.
the
Yeah.
process. Like, but that's also with knowing yourself, knowing what you can and can't do, how to push yourself a little bit, how not like you got to know your levels and your limits, and
Hmm.
so that's
That's
part of it.
so, yeah. And I guess too, like before we go, did you change it? Do your diet change? Like, will it, like, I don't know. I feel like when they're doing chemo, is chemo usually a reason why they would change their diet, or is it just, right?
You lose the appetite, like
Okay.
you don't want to eat when you're doing
Mm,
chemo. Yeah, like there's no appetite there. Like you don't even think about food. like,
okay.
like they have to usually you have the chemo drip, and then you have an IV where they're putting stuff into you because you're not going to eat. That's why people lose so much weight, because you don't want to eat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So will you like? Are you gonna like change? Do you change your diet? Did you change your diet? I guess. Because I
Not
don't know how
intentionally.
much is connected to. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah. So like, I don't really eat that much, and um, I just don't be having an appetite. I have to like force myself to eat a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, but it's a symptom. It's not like a thing, right? So like, I know that I have to make myself eat, so I'm gonna eat. It might not be a lot. It might be like bits and pieces, or like something here or there. But I'm gonna force myself to eat because I've been getting too small, and
Oh
it'd be like killing me. Cause I'd be like, where your ass go?
yeah. Yeah,
That
it, all
it'd be
things.
like that thing was staying and now it's slinging. Like, what's happening? Like, that's tragic. Yeah, but
But
yeah.
that's
So
what I
I'm
mean.
what's
Like things change though, right? And even that,
yeah.
like getting used to your body at all the phases.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Even with weight loss, weight gain. Because I talk about body dysmorphia too sometimes. I have an interesting, yeah, about my own, not about other people, but just like what I believe my experience is, right? When it comes to like different versions of like your weight journey, because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that too plays into a lot of things, our identity, how we show up, our confidence. Um, yeah, all this shit, everything is everything.
Everything.
Cause like
Okay,
it's all
Lauren Hill.
connected. It affects other stuff.
Yeah.
I used to
Yeah.
have a professor that said that all the time. Everything is like every time we talk about a concept, right? And like everybody will have all these ideas and opinions. It's social work, girl. So
Yeah.
there's nothing but all of our thoughts and opinions and philosophies. And like she used to always say, everything is everything. Like none of y'all wrong, but everything is
Right.
important. Like it was like really one of those spaces to like everybody opinion can exist, right?
Right.
Like and just remind us everything's everything. Like, and that's how I feel here. I feel like this whole conversation literally is a reflection of living life, right? Like the whole thing, the marriage, the kids, the dating, right? Like different things that come along your journey, like, health concerns,
Yeah.
depression, we experience that on so many different levels. Our body's changing, right? And even adjusting to that. And I will say that too, especially, right? Pregnancy, right? And when we talk about postpartum, like all these things are really we're saying the same thing a lot and it just expresses differently.
Yeah. Which is
I just love all of us. And I know that this shit is not always easy and they're high and low. And I just want to hug all of us, including myself. Because I'm like,
right. Everybody to hug.
and you
Everybody
don't
to
even like hugging. And the fact that you know that.
look, I'd be like, fuck, come here.
Yeah, for real.
I'm like,
For
damn,
real.
okay, but don't touch me.
Your time is up. All right. It was 2 seconds. Don't get
Right. I
excited.
said like a church hug. Like, why are you fucking rocking
Like
me?
a,
Like, stop.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. But yeah. I don't know. I feel like we talked about everything that I have here. Somehow it's the way we got to it.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know if we was gonna be able to. Well, I guess that's what happened when you're on for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, girl. We this is definitely over 2.5 hours. This is definitely going into 3.5 hours. That is but I feel good. So I'm gonna sleep after this, but I feel good. So
Yeah.
whatever was meant to be is happening and this is just what it is. Nothing. That's what I'm here for. I don't care.
Yeah.
I like it.
Me too. I'm here for it.
All right.
I
Well, this was
loved being here and
amazing.
talking to
Yeah.
you.
I'm gonna save this right now, and I also always download them as well. So I'll just send it to you in case you want a copy. Well, I don't think I can send it through text, right? It's gonna be too big. I'll send it to your email. But yeah, I always download these just so you can have it too.
Okay, sounds good.
So
You
thank
just
you.
is dancing.
I know, because I'm in a good mood. So yeah, I feel really good. That means like my soul is happy. That's how I get. I just get
Yeah.
really like this is good. This is good. Like my soul feels proud. So that's always like.
That's good. Yeah, that's real good.
It feels really good. So, but yeah, thank you so much, Bree. This is like amazing. Yeah, this is Truth Talk to Charlie, people. I don't never know how long these things are gonna go. I'm just here and I'm happy to be here. Oh my gosh, the moon. Okay, it's a full moon. Everyone in Aquarius, I believe.
Is it?
Yeah, it's definitely a full moon.
No. I'm talking about Aquarius.
Is it in Aquarius or is it in Capricorn?
I thought it was in Capricorn.
Oh, I could be wrong.
I could be wrong. Who knows?
I don't know. So
I don't.
literally, yeah. I listen. All the energies support me, so I'll
Right.
just be like, all right.
It is what it is. Everything
Yeah,
is
all the energies
everything.
support me. So, but I like to talk about it. Just to talk about it. But I can see the moon right here. It looks beautiful. So I'm like, ooh, I remember. Okay. Yeah, these are my tangents. See, this is why I want to do this. Because I feel like it also shows people my personality. Because I'm like, woo, sometimes. But it also depends on who I'm around.
Yeah.
You will see a difference in how my energy is, depending on who's on. Oh, that's my sister. She's still here. This is amazing. You both have a great thanks, sis. I didn't even know you were still here.
Yeah, she was coming. I was like, oh, hi.
Dang. And she's an Aries sun, but that's a different kind of Aries. That's why I was like, when you told me about the Aries, the masculine Aries, I was shocked, but I've never experienced one. But she's also like a Gemini rising, so I feel like she got an exception to the rule. Yeah. All right, I'm talking about astrology.
Yeah, I said, like, girl.
Y'all, I know different things about different things, and I just put it all together, and it's part of how I experience this world through the lens of astrology. Sometimes human design, of the time, my own philosophy, my own beliefs, whatever my intuition tells me. And
then, whenever we get together, we be on for hours. So
yeah, all right, yes, and this is another thing with all my my 4 close friends that I have. These are the conversations. Yeah, we're just here having a good time, reflecting, crying some days. Well, you don't like to cry, but most of us are crying some days, mostly laughing. It's a great time.
Yeah, if y'all crying, I'm finna cut a joke and y'all finna laugh again.
Right, but I feel like, but I even said that to you, like, me and you have never gotten into it. I feel like, but our group, like from back in the day, we all are like personalities, right? For the most part. But I always feel like, I just could never see, because you have such a sharp tongue with jokes, right, and saying smart shit. I could just see myself laughing at some point because I was just like, what the fuck? Where did that come from? Like, and it just don't fit, but it also does fit. But I wouldn't have a response because it would be too quick. So it really will bring me back to the moment because I was like, what the fuck am I even doing? Like, this is stupid. Like, what am I even talking about?
What are we even doing right now?
Like, wait, what's happening? Yeah, that's how I feel. I told you that too before. I was like, yeah, I just feel like the way you are with your tongue, like I wouldn't even be able to keep it serious. So I was like, what the fuck? This is so not important, I'm sure. So I would just laugh and keep it moving. Like, all right, you got that one. Yeah, y'all everybody get y'all some friends who don't take life too serious because that will really help. Honestly.
Yeah, that's really important.
That's not helping. Like, if everybody's stressed.
And then you try and tell them about your stress, so now that's stressing them, and they're like, no one know how to process nothing.
Yeah. So
get you some friends that know how to process, that know how to troubleshoot.
They got their own self-awareness too.
Right, because if they can't help you through certain things, and it's just gonna end up stressing you out even more, there's no reason even to talk to them about it. Like,
that's true. Right, and know who you're talking to. I think you said that earlier too. But like, if you're expecting somebody to be empathetic, that you know damn well ain't empathetic, ain't got it in their body, just can't wake it up. But you're expecting it from them, babe. Like, I want empathy for you. I promise, I really do. But not everybody will be able to give it to you. And I think that, like, the sooner we recognize that, the less we'll also stop breaking our own hearts, as Trish Shelton would say, right? Because we're expecting something, we have this expectation, and the person won't be able to meet that need. At least not right now.
Right, and just because they're not displaying it in the way that you want them to doesn't mean that they're not doing it. Because when people come and talk to me all the time, my face is always like,
oh, that's a good one. Don't make assumptions. But that's another thing, right?
I'm just processing. I'm listening. I'm processing, because while you're telling me what you're telling me, I'm trying to come up with a solution. So just because my face is bare or stale or whatever it is, like, what did you want from me? You're going to be like, listening, then you're like, I hate when people do that to me. Like, if I'm talking to them and they're like,
wait, I love this. I love that you're saying that, because I feel
Yep.
like everybody is
Hmm.
so different. Wait, so are you naturally like a problem solver? Like, do
Yes.
you when you're hearing things, do you naturally feel like you need to solve it?
Yes.
So what? So what if I wanted to just vent? Do I just come to you and be like, hey, I just want to vent. I'm not looking for. Okay, I love that.
Because I'm like, if you call me and you're like, bitch, I got a problem.
Okay.
My thinking hat, what's up? Like,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's a different. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So, but no, like just in general, like if people could, like when it could be nothing happening, right? I'm just paying attention to all the stuff that's going on, and then I'm like, yeah, move that over there. It's gonna fall. Like
Mm.
I'm just naturally like
Right. Right.
move
You can
this
see
over
when things are
here.
out of place or something's about to
Yeah,
like
like
crack
something's about to
somewhere.
happen. Like I'm just naturally like that. And so when people start talking to me, I'm naturally like, what can I do to help?
You should
How can
really
we
look into
how can we
projectors. That's
fix this?
literally what like you're just talking about your human design chart. Like that's literally what it is, right? Like you could see a solution, right? But the thing is, people need to invite you in to give that solution.
Yeah, because I'm not gonna give it to them.
Well, that's perfect because
Yeah,
if you do, it can easily be rejected and be a whole mess that it doesn't, right? People might want not feel safe anymore. All these other things, right? It might not want to come back to you because,
yeah.
like, yeah.
Because I'm gonna have to answer,
Look
but
at
it's like
that! Look at
I'm
you
like
living your human design and you don't even know it. You don't even know it because you just
I ain't
trusting
even know.
yourself because you just
Like
decided I'm trusting myself. That's
yeah, I'm
it.
just trusting myself because I'll have to answer. I'm just not gonna tell you unless you ask me for it.
I love that. That is true. Yeah, yeah, that's good too. To be like good in the sense to be able to like hold it in. You know what I mean? It's discipline, not good. It's discipline.
Yeah, but unless it's like something I'm like I feel like I have to, like something is telling me I have to tell you, then I'm like, do you want to know my opinion? Or like, do
Mm-hmm.
you want my help? I ask first. I don't just give it.
Oh, I love that. But a lot of what you talk about requires a slowing down that a lot of us aren't, right? That's not our natural operation.
And I don't even know when I slow down, right?
Right, but it's
No,
true. It's
seriously, because you know me, you know, I always been like quick
on go time.
on
Yeah.
go all the time. But I kind of like just over the last couple of days, like I was in a new setting. And so I just noticed that I was like so slow down, like so chill, just like almost felt like disconnected, but I wasn't. I was still very present and still very
Mm-hmm.
connected. It just, I was like slower. Like it just, like
Mm-hmm.
everything was just the pace, the speed of everything. It was just, and I was just like, okay. And so, like, I'm literally like catching bottles falling off the table, putting it down. Like, don't
Mm-hmm.
just, everything is just like, it was slow motion. It was like kind of weird to me, but at the same time, it was like, I liked it because it's kind of like I was outside of myself watching myself.
You're literally observer. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. That's how I would word that. I'm like, oh, like this is me observing. Because I feel like that sometimes too. I'm like, why do I not feel like I'm not here, right? And so I'll
Yeah.
start moving and shit
Yeah.
to bring
Like,
myself down.
like
Like
I'll
what
be
the fuck
like,
is happening?
like,
That's how I know we're magical beings. Like nobody can convince me that I ain't fucking magical. I'm like, what? How? How is that even? How is that possible?
right.
That's what I
Because I tell people
really
all the
want to
time, I'm like, I'm not a human, I'm a god. Just that's first and foremost.
know.
That's why I'm like, these humans out here getting on my
Yeah.
nerves.
It's funny. I need to look at the rest of your chart because, like, some of the stuff you said, I feel like this is an Aquarius thing to say. Like, where's your rising at? I feel like it's very Aquarius thing to say sometimes, and that's only because of the Aquarius I do know. So a lot of like, though I might research astrology, really what I be talking shit is about people I know
Right.
because right that I've actually experienced. So
Yeah.
so y'all, if y'all like, that's not what they do. They do. In my world, they do. And it's been, and I asked them eventually, like after I observed for a while, I'll be like, huh, do you notice this, that, and the third? Or they'll end up mentioning it. And I'll be like, I didn't know that you knew you did that. They'll
Right.
be like, yeah, because what we're actually trying to do is this, that, and the third. And I'm like, huh, be careful with those Aquarius. The words they use. They like to word things a certain way, too.
Oh yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a
That's what I'm
wordsmith.
wondering. I'm going to go look.
Yeah, because I'm very particular with what I say. That's why when I be
Mm-hmm.
talking, I pause sometimes and be like looking off into something like, how do I want to phrase
Mm-hmm.
this? And then I come back with how I wanted to say it because I'm very specific with what I say. My mother always used to get mad at me because she would ask me a question and I would just answer that question, even though I knew what she wanted.
Yeah, you that. Oh my god.
And like I do that with everybody. I'm like, if you want a specific answer from me, you have to ask me a specific
Oh
question.
my
Because
god,
I
that's
know
so
what you
funny.
want me to answer. I know what you want. But unless you ask me, I'm not gonna give it to you.
Oh my god, my cheeks are hurting. What? Because I can just see that. Like, really? It's kind of like when
Yeah.
people are like, you know what I meant, and it's like, yeah, but you
And
didn't
I'd be
say that.
like,
And I'm like,
but you didn't ask me that. Because like
oh, so
just
funny.
something as simple as where are you from? So I'll be like, Chicago. And they'll be like, oh, okay, so how long you lived there? And I was like, you asked me where I'm from, not where I live. Like, so like, do you want to know where I live or where I'm from? Because that's two different questions.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be something
Oh,
as simple as that,
word. Right.
you
Right.
know?
See, girl, you should be an attorney. That would be really good because it's all about who tells the best story and word usage
Yeah.
is everything.
Yeah. So it's like, where are you from? Chicago. How long you lived there? I lived there for a while, but like, do you want to know where I live currently? Because that's not what you asked me. You asked me where I was from. So,
But
I'm like,
I feel like this goes back, right? Everybody is made up differently because your brain literally works different, right, than my brain. I can tell just from like what you're saying. I'm like, yeah, our brain does not work the same, right? And it's like that's why we're all made so different. But our brains are like and like even how you are able to slow down, right? There's no oh, that's Jacob. Oh, the word you said, yeah. And Jacob is an Aquarius. That's what I'm telling you. Hello. This is what I'm saying. That's my nephew. She's talking about my nephew. I'm like, yeah. And Jacob is a fucking Aquarius. Exactly. I'm telling you, they play with words all day. All day. But they're so intelligent. There's nothing you can really, it's their genius.
yeah.
Right? And it helps them get places in life. That's the thing, right? And that's why I feel like all of this is a gift. But what I would love to say is talk about your ability to be slow, right? In a way of like you don't rush, right? Which is why you can take time and like think about what you want to say and think about the words, right? And I think about the way I was raised. Like I don't know if I felt unheard or what, but for whatever reason, I feel I need to hurry up and talk,
Mm-hmm.
right? To make sure people hear what I have to say. So, now I'm learning to slow down, right? There's no rush. But like but when I see you, that's something I see in you that I'm like, ooh, I want more of that, right? Like I want to slow down and take my time to talk. There should be no rush. And I don't want to feel that pressure to
See,
go
the
quicker than
thing,
I'm ready to.
the reason is because everybody usually talks first and they usually talk over me. I'm soft spoken until I got to get up there, right? So if I'm trying to partake in the conversation or give you my feedback or something like that and other people are still talking, I'm awake. Like
Mm,
I've been talked over my whole life. And so
mm,
I sit back now and like, all right, I'm gonna let them say whatever it is that they need to say, and then when they're done, I'm like, okay, so what about this? Because now I got the floor, so I don't have to try and compete with the other people while
mm.
they're talking and trying to give you these things. Now I have the floor to myself because everybody else had already talked at one time and tried to say whatever it is that they want to say.
A very again, right? Even the way like you see us humans. Oh my god, I need to see the rest of your chart because all this shit is Aquarius. Aquarius, I love y'all. I really, really do. But y'all for sure my sister sign. Okay, like we are like siblings for real. But yeah,
Yeah,
because that's the sister sign of Leo, right? Like we're on
yeah.
opposite ends.
Because like I think of things extremely fast. Like that's why I'm so good at my job. Like I process information extremely fast. Like before people finish their sentence, I already know what they're gonna say, and so I've already come up with the solution to whatever it is, right? Like,
That's
and
such a gift.
I don't even know how, but like most of my meetings, I don't pay attention to half of it because I just need to know the beginning part, the middle, and the end, and then I'm like, okay, we're good. Like, or I just
Yeah,
know
but that's
like,
the thing about knowing yourself, right? Because you
yeah,
also know what you need to be effective, right? I'm just saying, like when it comes to stuff like, I'm like, no, that's never gonna work for me. Like,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be as effective as you want it to be. Like, I know that it worked for other people. I can tell you what will help me, because I can do a lot more in quicker time than most people. Not no shade, because of the way my brain works, but
Yeah.
there's a certain way I need the information.
Yeah. And like, you can give me the information, whatever form suits you, and I'm still gonna process it.
Yeah.
Like, but I might get a little irritated because sometimes when people talk in circles before they can actually finish, because I've already processed it. So I'm waiting on you to stop talking, but you're still going in circles. It's like, I got it already. Like, please stop it. Like, so now I'm irritated and I'm trying not to
I
stop your
can't.
process flow. Like, I'm trying not to stop your process flow because you're still processing,
Right, they still need
apparently.
that.
Yeah, so like now I'm just sitting here like, the answer is
I love
4.
it.
Like,
Oh.
like
That's so interesting. I'm really gonna go look at your chart, because I need to. Is it Gemini? Is it Aquarius? I need to know. Is it an air energy? I have questions. I really do.
once you find out, you let me know, because I don't know,
Yeah.
because I sure just be sitting here looking at people like, that's why I can't have conversations with people most of the time. Like, that's why I'm like, just text me, because if I talk to you, it's like, for what? Like, because I'm just gonna be holding the phone and being like, okay, yeah, yeah. You're gonna be trying to break this whole thing down to me. I also have like, when people talk to me, I see images.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't talk to people on the phone and like do other things. So like, I turn the TV off or I pause the TV or I don't do
Ooh,
anything,
you're like focused.
because I see what they're saying to me in
Mm,
my head. I'm a picture person. Like, I have a photographic memory, and so
yeah,
like,
I'm like that, but in order to feel, like I like to feel, like I want to know what you're feeling, and so
yeah,
I do that through people's words and the pictures I get that come
yeah.
through.
So
Like what you told me earlier about, what's the thing you told me about earlier? I wrote it down when we talk about tumor, but you use a different word, leech. So
oh,
when
the
you told me
leech.
about leech,
Yeah,
I could see it and it changed my whole world. I was like,
yeah,
that makes way more sense to me when you told me about like how it goes in. I'm like, yes,
yeah.
that makes more sense to me. And I also I understood on a whole other level.
Yeah, because when people say tumor, you think of like just something that's just sitting flat on top, or it's just getting bigger and bigger on top. You don't think about like it's infiltrating through things, and then also getting bigger on top while it's infiltrating through
Right.
all these things. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
just changed everything. But yeah, so listen, we're all magic. That's what we decided, which we already knew. But
yeah, yeah,
so yeah, and just want to remind you all that. That's how we're gonna wrap it up. We're all magic. Find out what your gift is. Love all over yourself. Know that you're amazing, and it doesn't matter what. Choose to live. If you want, choose to live and live out loud. Capital LIVE, and whatever that looks like or feels like to you, you
yes,
get to create that for yourself. Um, and also, it was different for everybody, the whole process. So
yeah,
there's no perfect way, but I hope that this conversation has helped people, has given you something to think about. Maybe maybe you want to do more research, all the things, whatever it is. I pray that whatever you were called to receive, that you received it. And we can say, I'm so grateful for you, by the way. I got some new nail colors, so I'm excited.
I see that. That's
Oh,
dope. I've been seeing you been talking with your hands the whole time. Like, look at my nails.
I'm that girl. Yeah, this is why I get my nails done. And and that's why I guess I like live so I can see my nails. So all these things are important for me.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
me
this
too.
is important for how I show up, right? I even added some more. Yeah. All this is important to me. Anywho, I hope that you all are living your best lives and creating the life that you desire, whatever that looks and feels like for you. And we give thanks for you all being here. And anyone who stayed with us these whole 3 hours, almost 4, y'all the real MVPs. Because I didn't even know this was going to happen. But I know as soon as I get off this call, I'm going to fall to sleep so quick once I get, myself settled. But yeah, I don't know, because I also feel so good. So dating might be in my future. We don't know. Because I have one more canvas left right here. So, dating might be in my future, actually. But I don't know. But, Bree, I love you so much. To anyone still here, True Talks with Charliie. The next one is Sunday. Yeah, today's the 11th, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. But the next one for sure is on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know that for sure was, yeah, it's happening. I never look at the date. I'm very much person, I focus on one thing at a time. Like, I'm not in the business of trying to rush to the next thing. All right, I got to focus on your talk. That's what I'm doing. I'll focus on the next talk. And it helps me. It helps me with my energy management. So that's why I do that. I don't need to be doing too much.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, so, but, yeah, I'll be present when I show up, y'all. I show up, though. Okay? And I do
Showing and showing.
But yes, I love you because if not, we will keep going in circles here. All right, bye,
Yeah.
everybody.
Okay.
Oh my God, pray